The president is not only racist, he's a bigot, but he is completely un-American. He is behaving like a fascist.
This is the president, once again, just thumping his chest and acting like he is the dictator that I think he wants to be.
The president of the United States is a wannabe dictator with authoritarian tendencies.
This is exactly what authoritarians do. This is what strongmen do. This is what happens in
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
This Congress started off with the Democrats, folks on the left saying we should abolish ICE, then moved to we should abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security. And now they're talking about abolishing the police. It is pure insanity to defund the police.
God forbid you found out a coworker of yours was killed or injured in the line of duty in the course of doing their job. You just get the text. You got this text a couple times a year. That's policing.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
We all read in the papers that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. Everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Stop treating us like animals and bugs and start treating us with some respect.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
You know, I'm looking for let's get Gone with the Wind. Can we get Gone with the Wind back, please?
The movie classic Gone with the Wind pulled from HBO Max, the streaming platform owned by CNN's parent, Warner Media.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Much of the 1939 film is set on a Georgia plantation and has long been criticized for its idealized and sanitized depiction of slavery.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Unchained and unstoppable.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it.
Did I say that loud? Hey, you pretty much yelled it.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
So now the statue of Christopher Columbus in the North End has been torn down again, and its head was chopped off late last night, early this morning. And instead of just putting it back up on the pedestal and wiping off the nasty graffiti or the paint that was spilled on it, now Marty Walsh, the mayor of Boston, says they're going to take away the headless statue, and they're not necessarily going to put it back up. And so Black Lives Matter said, we didn't do it, but we support vandalizing the statue of Christopher Columbus. Now, Christopher Columbus, I thought America started in 1619, right? Isn't that what the New York Times told us when the first slaves arrived? Now, Christopher Columbus he sailed the ocean blue in 1492. I don't think he was around 127 years later to bring the first slaves into Jamestown, Virginia. Was he? What does Christopher Columbus have to do with all this? Just asking. But it's giving Marty another chance to virtue signal. He's talking about cutting the police budget, and now he gets a chance to say he's not going to put back the statue of Christopher Columbus in the North End. Christopher Columbus sleeps with the fishes. You know, I think when they originally passed Columbus Day as a holiday, it was kind of a civil rights moment for Italian Americans, was it not? And now Christopher Columbus, what is it, 80, 90 years later, Christopher Columbus is now a symbol of the man. And it seems like it was just a few months ago, because it was a few months ago, that the city of New Orleans finally apologized to the larger Italian American community in the United States for the lynching. Yes, I said it, lynching of 11 Sicilian immigrants in the New Orleans jail after an Italian who was not one of the 11 who was lynched murdered the chief of police of New Orleans. This is just none of this makes any sense. And Gone with the Wind, you know, I wouldn't watch Gone with the Wind on a bet myself. I remember seeing it as a kid, you know, when it came out. It used to come out periodically, like every 10, 15 years. And my mother said, "Oh, you got to see this. This is the best movie ever made." And she took me and my brother to see it. And, you know, she didn't want to see it. She just dropped us off at the theater and came out. We came out a couple hours later. How was it? Can we next weekend? Can we go see James Bond? I mean, I never saw. Do you like Gone with the Wind, Grace?
Yes, it's a masterpiece. I'm gonna let Greta take this one.
How dare
you?
How dare I?
I've got to be honest. I've never seen it.
You never are, Taylor.
Yeah, I guess not. I think there's a laser disc in my family floating around somewhere of Gone with the Wind, but I don't have a laser disc.
I guess as soon as they delisted it, as soon as they erased it Orwellian style from history, or at least temporarily, kind of like the statue of Christopher Columbus in the North End, it immediately became the number one selling DVD, laser disc, Blu-ray, whatever it is, on Amazon, probably all of those formats.
But I'm glad I have Blazing Saddles indelibly etched in my mind. I've watched it so many times, so I don't need a hard copy of that one. I can just replay it from the beginning to end.
508 says, will Marty Walsh and the other hacks at City Hall be giving up their 3-day Columbus Day holiday weekend? Well, they've already renamed it, haven't they? In some place, hasn't Rhode Island or Providence or Brown University, somewhere down there in Ramondoville, that has renamed it Fall Day, right?
Or Indigenous Peoples Day,
or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, what did Christopher Columbus ever do to deserve this? You know, he wanted to make some bucks by getting to India, and he ran into a continent in his way. And now he's a symbol of white suppression or white something or other. Anyway, 844-500-4242. Here's another one, 781. My girlfriend made me watch Gone with the Wind a while back. I'd rather listen to a John Kerry speech for 3 hours. Oh, it wasn't that bad. I mean, again, it wasn't my first choice. But it wasn't as bad as a John Kerry speech.
It does say something. If I would rather watch The Sound of Music than Gone with the Wind, just based on the trailers, yeah, I'd go with Sound of Music.
I'd go with Sound of Music too, I guess. It wouldn't be a pleasant evening one way or the other, but I'd have to.
That's kind of the point.
Anyway, you want some Los Angeles news? Let's start off with a little Los Angeles news today, just for a change of pace. The president of the Los Angeles City Council is named Nuri Martinez, and she is proposing a $150 million cut from the Los Angeles Police Department budget. You know what she has outside her front door? A 24/7 security detail provided by the Los Angeles Police Department. Or she did. Now she's ended it. It's kind of ironic. Detective Jamie McBride, director of the LA Police Protective League, the LAPD union, told TV stations, here she is demanding $150 million be reallocated from the police budget, but she has 24/7 security at her house by the LAPD. How telling is that? And he says this probably cost over $100,000 since April, when she received the traditional death threats. Meanwhile, Los Angeles, which again is talking last week about, or last month about jailing. in Los Angeles that has its health director saying the city's going to be shut down through the rest of the summer. The health director used to be a school principal in Jamaica Plain. In other words, she's not an MD. LA, which now wants to cut $150 million out of the police department budget, saw a massive spike in homicides during the first week in June. Murders were up 250% from May 31st through June 6th. The number of gunshot victims increased by 56% during the same period compared to the previous week. But so what could be a better response to a wave of gun violence than to decide to propose cutting the police budget? Los Angeles Mayor Garcetti, it's Eric Garcetti, I guess, not Gil Garcetti, I'm thinking of somebody else, announced last week that he would direct $250 million slated for the police department toward health care, jobs, and other programs. No, that'll be for job training. Nobody wants that. Nobody that's going to get one of these fake, phony, baloney public sector jobs wants a job. They want to do the job training. They want to train some other poor fool how to get a job. They want to be in community outreach. I'm just citing now from the Tom Wolfe book, Radical Chic and Mau Mauing the Flat Catchers. 844-500-4242. We got a lot planned here today. I'm Howie Carr.
You're tuned into the Howie Carr Radio Network.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by 110 Grill. All Massachusetts locations are now open for outdoor dining on their beautiful patios. To find your nearest location or to sign up for their loyalty program, go to 110grill.com. Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
This is the Howie Carr Show live from Chappaquiddick at the Party House, 25 years after Chappaquiddick 1969 on WHDH, News Talk 850.
Another bad song from 1969. 742-0850. We're going to take some calls this segment if you want to get on board. If you have any questions for John Farrar, the scuba diver who saw Mary Jo Kopechne's body underwater. The number again, 742-0850. We're going to start talking about the incident and everyone's perceptions. John, let me just get this straight. So now, as far as your belief is that while Ted Kennedy was walking past all these houses back towards the Party House where we're broadcasting from now, Mary Jo was still alive.
That is correct.
And she would have been alive probably for about an hour, you think?
I think that's most reasonable, and if an hour, if not longer, that's correct.
If not, we all shop online, and now you could do it a better way with Honey. Honey is the free online shopping tool that automatically finds the best promo codes and applies them to your cart. Just download Honey to your computer and shop on all your favorite websites like normal. When you check out, just click the Apply Coupons button that pops up. Wait a few seconds for Honey to scan its database of all the working coupons on the web. Then watch your price drop. Honey works on nearly every online store, including Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Macy's, Etsy, and more. And Honey has found over $2 billion in savings for its users. That's why it has over 100,000 five-star reviews on the Google Chrome store. It's 100% free to use and installs in seconds. Plus, it's backed by PayPal, so you know it's secure and reliable. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. So get Honey for free today at joinhoney.com/Howie. That's joinhoney.com/Howie.
The coronavirus has made our lives unpredictable. But one thing you can always count on, the White House press corps will always ask President Trump ridiculous questions.
Question, Mr. President, should Americans have to decide between staying healthy and going back to work?
Hey, just checking on oil again today. I was wondering.
Oil?
Yeah.
Where is it today?
I was wondering if you.
No, where's the price? Give me the price.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
How can you ask a question when you don't know the price?
I'll look it up for you.
Okay, let me do something else.
What do you say to Americans who are scared, though? I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
Well, where did he come from, the Inspector General? What's his name?
It came from the Inspector General
what's his name?
report. I don't know his name.
Some of your allies have been bashing these doctors. Would you tell them to cut it out?
Today you tweeted the invisible enemy will soon be in full retreat. Given it's invisible without widespread testing, how would you know?
Hi, this is John in the People's Republic of Amherst, Massachusetts.
This is Heather from Richfield, Maine.
This is Kent, Wichita, Kansas, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now, it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the privacy and comfort of your own home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Should the Christopher Columbus statue in Boston's North End be repaired and put back on its pedestal?
Yes, absolutely.
97% agree.
Yeah. I knew that would be a heavy yes vote, but I wanted to get it out there. I have a feeling it's not going to get the kind of publicity and the kind of ink that it needs to get in the morning papers tomorrow. People are going to their eyes are going to glaze over with it. Speaking of cultural icons going down the tubes, Cops has been canceled after 32 seasons. And if you're like me, you thought it had been canceled years earlier, but it's been on Paramount Network, which used to be Spike Network, and I think it was something else before it was Spike. But it's been there for a few years, and that was another one of my unfavorite type TV shows. I never particularly wanted to see trash, you know. I mean, a little bit of trash, like in a fictional way, like in a noir movie or something, I could take it. But just like, you know, grainy videotape of trailer parks being rousted, I just didn't do much for me. I mean, I never wanted it to be taken off the air because I didn't like it, but it just didn't do much for me. And now it's gone.
How about Live PD? Did you ever watch Live PD?
No, I don't even know what Live PD was. I don't think.
It's a live version of Cops.
Oh, okay. Yeah. At the same time, Paramount Network pulled Cops from its plans. I'm reading from the story now. A&E removed a similar show in Live PD from its schedule, quote, out of respect for the families of George Floyd and others who have lost their lives. Oh, wow. Live PD is currently the #1 series on cable Friday and Saturday nights.
I believe they postponed it. Yeah.
I mean, but again, doing it live, they used to do old live radio shows, which I've listened to a couple of times. And, you know, the problem with having live shows like that, there's a lot of boring stuff going on, right?
Well, they have different filming. I mean, different, teams covering different locations. They'll have somebody in Seattle, somebody out in Austin, and then somebody out in Portland, Maine, or wherever you put them, and you just kind of switch between the action. If there is any action, you have several different film crews out there.
Well, Seattle would be an interesting place right now because the Antifa has taken over, like, I think 6 whole blocks. They call it Chaz. You see that? Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Chaz. And they have white people patrolling the area with guns. I thought that the Democratic establishment had a meltdown when they had white people with guns in Lansing, Michigan, protesting the lockdown. Now you have Antifa out there that have actually vandalized and tried to burn down the city. They're walking around with guns, and everybody's cool with it. And even though they've seceded from the city of Seattle, the public works has said, oh, we'll go and pick up the trash. Do you have to pay taxes now to the city of Seattle if you live in Chaz? This is just ridiculous. How long is this going to be tolerated? Till they have to go home to mommy's basement? All the Antifa gun wielding thugs with their little pot bellies and their Birkenstocks and their man buns. Good Lord. Steve from Cambridge, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Steve.
Howie, I think this defunding push is really a bargaining tool that they can use to get control of the purse strings of the police departments so that left-wing community organizations can completely control the police.
Right.
And I think the first thing they would probably institute is a hiring freeze on white males. They would demand entire discretion as to what crimes they would punish, like crimes against minority-owned businesses would be punished, but non-minority-owned businesses would be left alone. And
as you probably know, Steve, the minority set-asides on government contracts have proven to be a massive scam over the last 20 or 30 years, right? So it would be the same thing happening again.
Well, I think they would also demand that there be quotas on arrests. You would have to have a certain number of arrests of different ethnic groups, like certain number of white groups, certain number of blacks.
Yeah, no, they've already been, making suggestions along those lines. I got a column from Jason Riley in the Wall Street Journal, which goes into some of these same issues, and I think that's I think that has something to do with it. They're already talking about in Boston. They're saying, well, when we mean defund the police, what we really mean is other quote unquote reforms, like you mentioned. And also one of the things they want to do is do away with any kind of civil service tests. So there would be I assume that you'd have to not look at Corey reports either, arrest reports. So there'd be no arrest records. It's one thing when you say, okay, we'll let you come on the force if you have a tattoo. Okay, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But it just keeps going down from that. Then okay, well, if you have a marijuana arrest, that's okay. But cocaine is okay. But it just keeps they keep moving the goalposts, and you pretty soon you end up with, I was going to say people like Steve Flemmi, but it's more like his brother Mike Flemmi who got on but see, the thing is, you have a problem anyway, because with it, not just because they're cops, but any group of people, you're going to get a certain amount are corrupt. And so you want to try to minimize the number of corrupt, crooked people you get. And that's why you have standards. They're not racist standards. They're just standards. Thanks for the call, Steve. I'm Howie Carr. Come back to Cape Cod at the only lodging inside the Cape Cod National Seashore, the Nauset Beach Inn, a place where you can sleep to the sounds of breaking surf at a price you can afford. The Nauset Beach Inn rooms are equipped with 2 queen beds, coffee makers, microwave, refrigerator, fireplace, barbecue on the grounds, and you can bring your dog. A one-of-a-kind hotel with a path to the beach just outside your room. That's NAUSET beachinn.com. An ocean view from every room at a price you can afford. Face coverings are the new normal, but the kind you use really matters because not all offer the same protection. Boomer Naturals has a highly recommended consumer covering. It's 3 layers of ultra soft and breathable cloth, and it comes in sizes for both adults and children. This cotton polyester blend cloth is made for use up to 30 days when hand washed between uses. Order now at boomernaturals.com. Use code HowieCarr20 at checkout and save 20%. Get free shipping and handling on any order over $50.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
You are known as a cheap bastard. Which one of your daughters is the cheapest and why?
Charlotte is the cheapest, and I say that because she's always using my credit card. We keep changing the credit cards over and over again, and she keeps busting in and using them again. Most recently, just this week, she spent $75 at AT&T.
What's the cheapest thing you do now to save money?
The cheapest thing I do currently to save money, I guess, is I take all the bottles and cans to the market basket every weekend. I always like to save that money. I can't stand to throw those bottles and cans away and have the unclaimed returns go to the state of Massachusetts for illegal aliens.
Do you recycle?
Yes, I do recycle. When I got on the town meeting, I saw that the town dump was probably the only department in the town that was running in the black, and it's because of all the recycling that was going on. So I try to keep my taxes down that way. Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300. And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
We went to the White House for the Christmas party. In your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were two. Number one, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk. I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother."
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Finally, what about people that are alleged by the media to be segregationists? NBC tells us Joe Biden didn't just compromise with segregationists. He fought for their causes in schools, experts say. CNN tells us letters from Joe Biden reveal how he sought support of segregationists in the fight against busing. Washington Post tells us that Biden's tough talk on 1970s schools desegregation plans could get him new scrutiny. And there are several more where that came from. So I'll leave you with the question, should we then rename the Biden Welcome Center? Thanks very much, guys.
That's Kayleigh McEnany. She's always prepared. How about Mr. Frosty, Ed Markey? He was against busing and he was against abortion back when he got started, back when he was a state rep in Malden, back in the Warren Harding presidency. But now he's Mr. Woke. He's trying to outwoke Joe Kennedy. At least Joe. He's not the most dynamic Kennedy ever created, but he at least had the common sense that in their big debate in Providence. Yes, that's right, Providence, Rhode Island. That's where the Massachusetts Senate debate was held the other night. He at least had the good sense to point out that he was against busing. Not that there was anything wrong with being against busing, but I mean, it's pretty hard to be woke and Black Lives Matter and be against busing, as disastrous as it was. So there was a great tweet today, an amazing, it was a sad tweet in a way, but it was put out by a Black emergency room physician. And he just said, basically, he said, I've had 67 young Black men on my emergency room operating table with gunshot wounds over the years. I guess he keeps a count. I don't know, just probably because it's such a sad statistic. 67 young Blacks with gunshot wounds. Not one of them was shot by a police officer. They were all shot by young Black men. That's what he said. And that's Jason Riley had a column like that today in the Wall Street Journal, talking about the terrible carnage in Chicago last weekend. The Chicago Sun-Times, where the 25 people were killed in the city with another 85 wounded by gunfire. And as Jason Riley writes, none of these deaths or shootings involve police, so there will be no massive protests over them, no tearful commentary on cable news and social media, no white politicians wrapped in kente cloth taking a knee for photographers. The political left, with a great deal of assistance from the left-wing media, has convinced many Americans that George Floyd's death in police custody is an everyday occurrence for Black people in this country, and that racism permeates law enforcement. The reality is that the carnage we witness in Chicago is what's typical. Law enforcement has next to nothing to do with Black homicides, and the number of interactions between police and low-income Blacks is driven by crime rates, not bias. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, there were 492 homicides in Chicago last year, and only 3 of them involved police. And again, this is Jason Riley, a Black columnist for the Wall Street Journal. So long as Blacks are making up more than half of all murders and robberies while making up only 13% of the population, and so long as almost all of their victims are their neighbors, these communities will draw the lion's share of police attention. People are protesting because the public has been led to believe that racist cops are gunning for Blacks, yet the available evidence shows that police use of deadly force has plunged in recent decades. Here, I didn't know this is an amazing statistic that he cites. In the early 1970s, New York City police officers shot more than 300 people a year. By 2019, that number had fallen to 34. When journalists break down police behavior by race but don't do the same but for criminal behavior, you are not getting the whole story. We all kind of know this, but it's good to have it pointed out in black and white, so to speak. A recent New York Times report, for example, tells us that the racial makeup of Minneapolis is 20% Black and 60% white, and that police there, quote, used force against Black people at a rate at least 7 times that of white people during the past 5 years, unquote. Left out of the story are the rates at which Blacks and whites in Minneapolis commit crime in general and violent crime in particular. Reports about race and policing that omit relevant facts to push a predetermined narrative are not only misleading but harmful, especially to Blacks. We know from decades of experience that when police pull back, criminals gain the advantage and Black communities suffer both physically and economically. And then he points out that you read in these college textbooks about how the Black poverty rate increased in the late 60s, early 70s because companies pulled out of the Black neighborhoods, the ghettos, as they used to say, because of racism. And he points out that the reason the companies pulled out was not it didn't lead to the riots. It was because of the riots that they pulled out. And now the same thing is happening. Chicago, for instance, Lori Lightfoot, who basically stood by and did nothing. Now she's begging these companies like Walmart not to leave the city. The Walmart and Target stores in Chicago that were looted last week are 2 of the city's largest retailers. They employ a disproportionate number of low-skilled workers, and they haven't decided whether to reopen. If they don't, it could mean fewer jobs and higher prices for underserved minorities. Before we divert resources away from policing, says Jason Riley in the Wall Street Journal, maybe we should consider the effect it would have on the willingness and ability of businesses to operate in places where they're most needed. 844-500-4242. Frank, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Frank.
Hi, Howie. I've listened to you for over 3 years now, and I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Reason I'm calling, all the attention has been given to a cop and to the police force in general, making them all out to be racist. But there's another system that failed Floyd, and the judicial system is what I'm talking about. This man was a career criminal. He had a string of arrests for drugs and theft, and he served 5 years for armed robbery of a woman. And if the judicial system had done their job, he would have been in prison.
No, I know. I know. You're right. I mean, they're not talking about that though. But it's a fact. I mean, the Minneapolis police union called a press conference to point out that this George Floyd was a career criminal. I'm sorry he's dead, and we all are, and he shouldn't have been treated that way. And even if they did have him for passing a counterfeit bill, they shouldn't have had his neck on his throat, certainly not for eight and a half minutes. And one of the other cops should have stepped forward and said, "Hey, cut the bleep." But you're right. I mean, there is the other side to it, but they're not. There's not going to. No one does any time anymore especially in big cities, unless you do something really, really bad. We see this every day in the big cities, in Boston for sure. I mean, people just have rap sheets that go on and on and on and on. Illegal aliens, illegal alien heroin dealers get time served, which is a weekend. They don't want to give them any hard time, or it's quote unquote hard time, because they might get deported. And we can't deport these nice young men from our communities. It's out of control. Thanks for the call, Frank. Mr. Garcia, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Hello, how you doing? I want to ask you a question because I was arguing with my coworker, these two black men, and I tell them, listen, our Sharpton, if you're not white, or rich, or famous, or a police officer, he's not going to protect you. He's not going to protect you. You have to be a famous white person to kill somebody, kill them.
Mr. Garcia, do your coworkers really think Al Sharpton is their friend?
No.
Good. They're not completely crazy then.
And then the problem is if the white police officer killed Floyd, he was poor. Our Sharpton, never going to see him. You're not going to see him because he's poor white guy. Well, when you have money and you have power,
right?
Our Sharpton, I'm here. What do you want? Because he wants your money because you have to pay him.
I know. Thanks for the call, Mr. Garcia. And again, we come back to those statistics that are compiled by the Washington Post. You can't get any more left wing. You can't get any more fake news than that. But in this case, they're the only ones who compile the statistics. Last year, 9 black men were shot. Unarmed black men were shot by the police. 19 unarmed white men were shot by the police. Okay. So I don't think you can have racial quotas for unarmed men being shot by the police. You can't say you're going to have 65, 70% white, 13% black, 12% Hispanic. You can't do that. It's just the way it is. But the fact is, you're more than twice as many white men unarmed got killed by police. That's a stat. You can't get away from that. 844-500-4242. Ellen, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Ellen.
Eileen,
you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Eileen.
Hi, Howie. Listen, one quick note on Christopher Columbus.
Yes.
I think you're missing a point. That in thinking along the lines of Suffolk District Attorney Rachel Rollins, Christopher Columbus was management, and he didn't work himself up through the ranks.
There's a lot of people like that, though, aren't there, Eileen, in politics in Suffolk County and Boston?
There sure are. Howie, has Governor Baker made any public statements about UMass and MBTA sort of pulling the rug out from underneath the police with supports?
You know what? That's a very good point. The MBTA announced that they're not going to they're not going to allow their buses to be used to transport the police or the National Guard from riot to riot. And UMass Boston announced that they're not going to allow the National Guard or the police to use the campus on Kalia Point as a staging area for protecting the communities. You know what, Eileen? That's a very good point. And no one has asked him that question. Have you noticed that Charlie Parker seems to be doing fewer and fewer press conferences, Eileen?
Yes, I called the governor's office Monday and Tuesday, and I left a message for staff about that issue, saying I'd like a call back, and I asked them to have the governor speak to administrators at those state-funded entities.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it's more than state. It's more than state funded. All those people who made that decision at the MBTA and they're all gubernatorial appointees. And I don't know who really made the decision at UMass, but he appoints the board of directors at UMass too, the board of trustees. So this is on him. You're right, absolutely. And I assume when the phone didn't ring, you knew it was Tal Duvall getting back to you, Eileen, right?
Going to tell you that, Howie. I'm going to put another call in tomorrow. I'll let you know when I hear back.
Thank you. I won't be holding my breath for your next call then, Eileen. Thanks for the call. 844-500-4242. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're listening to, not what your roommates or your family are listening to. Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. I'm holding them up right now. These things are great. Just ask Grace. She knows. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best models yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts.
Howie, right now I'm binging a podcast. It's a true crime podcast.
Yes.
And it's narrated by an Australian man, and his accent comes in crisp and clear on my Raycons. I love
Crikey,
it.
mate.
Exactly.
Do you do it when you put some shrimp on the bobbies? Crack open a Foster's? Raycon was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycon their seal of approval. Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Howie and see what Grace is talking about. That's buyraycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Radio Network.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by White Birch Brewing in Nashua, New Hampshire. Well known for their sours, heavily fruited sours, and IPAs. Stop in today and support a local family-owned business, White Birch Brewing.
He's the gaff that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touched them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble with some things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me, it starts here in my gut, it goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde. It used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg and come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
With all the uncertainty in the world, feeling safe at home has never been more important. It's why I want to talk to you about Simply Safe Home Security. They're longtime friends of the Howie Carr Show, and for good reason. Simply Safe has made it easy to finally get comprehensive protection for your home. There's no technician or salesperson that needs to come and disrupt your house. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. You just order online, set it up yourself in under an hour, and your home is protected 24/7 with emergency dispatch for break-ins, fire, and more, all for just 50 cents a day. And we're not the only fans of Simply Safe. U.S. News and World Report named Simply Safe best overall home security of 2020. Go to simplysafehowie.com to try it out for yourself. That's simplysafehowie.com to make sure they know that our show sent you. That's simplysafehowie.com.
Joe Biden might be running for president in 2020, so we should play some of his greatest hits.
Barack and I finally reduced the disparity in sentencing, which we've been fighting to eliminate, in crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. It was a big mistake when it was made. We were told by the experts that crack, you never go back.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. If there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony, put that double-barrel shotgun, and fire 2 blasts. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey.
The 3-letter word, jobs. Jobs. Jobs.
One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
Hi, this is Cindy from Osterville, Massachusetts.
This is Brett Rock from Dunstable, Massachusetts.
This is Amy in Lisbon Falls, Maine, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
They also took out the Christopher Columbus statue in Richmond, Virginia last night. I guess it wasn't enough to take down Robert E. Lee and, I don't know, Stonewall Jackson, Jefferson Davis. So they whacked out Christopher Columbus in Richmond as well, the cradle of the Confederacy, as they say. Let's have a Pelosi supercut. You know, Pelosi is saying she doesn't pay attention to Donald Trump anymore because he's irrelevant, but she's very relevant, as you can see from this cut 14.
Gave American experience this moment of national anguish, and I salute Chairwoman. In the coming weeks, the House will hold hearings. Police brutality, leader in the Congress, the president must not stand in the way of justice and racial profiling. Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin, Representative Bobby Smith,
Representative Bobby Scott,
Mr. Congresswoman Harris, Congressman. Senator, did I say Senator? Senator Harris.
Yikes. She's
what's that about?
I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Arthur, you're next. She's going to be calling Eileen back on behalf of Governor Parker. Arthur, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Arthur.
You know, some things that we grow up with never change. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's the trouble in this country today. We shouldn't be defunding the cops. We should be defending the cops. Every one of us. There should be a 3 million person march on Washington. Everybody dressed in blue instead of pink. And you know, Black Lives Matter has the wrong sign. It should be criminal Black Lives Matter, not plain Black Lives Matter.
Well, I mean, that's what Jason Riley was saying. How about, you know, one of the black protesters who's been yelling at these demonstrators or rioters said, if you really care about Black lives, why aren't you in Chicago? But they're not, Arthur.
No, they're not. And by the way, Howie, if they want to take Gone with the Wind because of how it portrays Negroes, what about all of Spike Lee's films? He portrays them as gangs and druggies.
Right. Well, he's got a new movie coming out, and he's got a black guy in there who wears a MAGA hat and is a Trump supporter. And the guy said he didn't want to even play the role because he was so offended by playing the role. Ridiculous. Byron, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Byron.
Howie, thank you for having me. I'd like to know something about this Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone out in Seattle.
Yes.
Where is Washington State's red flag law? You've got these people soliciting armed members to go out and guard the streets and take over a police precinct. And if I did that, I'd have them beating down my door at 5 in the morning.
Has Washington State got a red flag law? They probably do, given their proclivities. You know, you're right. What do you have to do to have the police come out and take away your gun? If you're marching around a barricade claiming that you have seceded from the city of Seattle and the state of Washington and the United States of America, I mean, isn't that a prima facie evidence of mental instability, Byron? You have a very good point there, I think.
Waco, they sent in tanks at Waco, Howie. They killed a man at Ruby Ridge. Now, of course, you got to go back 25 years to remember this. And another item about the police, I remember as a young man in the service when we were read a briefing at a commander's call on the Lautenberg Amendment.
I don't even know what the Lautenberg, I know who he was, but what was that? Quickly. We're out of time. He was a senator from New Jersey. He took over for the Torch again after the Torch was torched. Came back. I'm Howie Carr. What's the number one sign of a bad home security? support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
And now,
It is my honor to introduce to you your senator, my senator, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
I know who I am because of what my mother and my father told me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor Deval Patrick.
And frankly, I got to tell you, with all the other things I'm worrying about, this is not one of them. We're going to be fine. I'm in charge.
Please join me in welcoming our own Senator Ed Markey.
The planet is running a fever. There are no emergency rooms for planets.
The very first African-American congresswoman to be elected from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley.
We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice.
let's give him a great Waterloo reception. John Kerry.
The Yankees posted the Boston Red Sox logo and they sang Sweet Adeline.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show. And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Did you have any pets when you were younger?
I had a cat named Dexter. That was my first pet. And then I had possession of 2 poodles when I lived in Palm Beach, Princess and Frisky. They weren't really my dogs, but I took care of them. They lived with me. So they were my dogs. I love those poodles.
When you were a kid, what was the best gift you ever received?
I got this wooden fort from FAO Schwartz in Palm Beach, about the age of 6 or 7, 10 soldiers to go along with it. Such a cool fort. I had that fort for like maybe close to 10 years.
What is your all-time favorite movie?
Probably Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. I love it even more than The Godfather.
What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably chocolate ice cream, followed by vanilla ice cream, followed by coffee ice cream. Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
So now you've broken your elbow. Have you ever broken any other bones?
When I was 8 years old, I broke my leg. I was playing touch football in Portland, and a big kid, a 15-year-old, tackled me. When I was in my 30s, I was going down the stairs, and one of the kids' toys was on the stairs and I tripped on it and broke my foot. I lost a tooth playing touch football when I was just out of Deerfield. I got smacked in the jaw. My tooth went up and I still have a bridge, a crown from that mishap. I have a replacement hip and now I have
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
This Congress started off with the Democrats, folks on the left saying we should abolish ICE, then moved to we should abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security. And now they're talking about abolishing the police. It is pure insanity to defund the police.
God forbid you found out a coworker of yours was killed or injured in the line of duty in the course of doing their job. You just get the text. You got this text a couple times a year. That's policing.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
We all read in the papers that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. Everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Stop treating us like animals and thugs and start treating us with some respect.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
You know, I'm looking for let's get Gone with the Wind. Can we get Gone with the Wind back, please?
The movie classic Gone with the Wind pulled from HBO Max, the streaming platform owned by CNN's parent, Warner Media.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Much of the 1939 film is set on a Georgia plantation and has long been criticized for its idealized and sanitized depiction of slavery.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Unchained and unstoppable.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it.
Did I say that loud? Yeah, you pretty much yelled it.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Welcome to the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us this afternoon, every weekday afternoon, 844-500-4242, 844-500-4242. Now, if they erase Gone with the Wind from the historical cinematic memory, does that mean that Hattie McDaniel's Best Supporting Actress Award for 1940, she was the first African-American thespian to win an Oscar? Is that gone too?
And Howie, Megyn Kelly tweeted about this too. She said, just because a part of history isn't what you wanted it to be doesn't mean there shouldn't be representations of that part of history. It's like book burning. Okay, so you didn't like what happened in a part of history, so no one should learn about it or no one should know about it. Mm-hmm. It's really dangerous. And now they're renaming the Democrats are just losing it, Howie.
Yeah, there's a new biography out of William Tecumseh Sherman. He was the Union general who marched the sea, burning everything in his way, and that those fires are a big part of Gone with the Wind. And I just read a review of a new biography of Sherman last weekend, and apparently he didn't really burn his way to the sea. I mean, he just had a few well-controlled fires to kind of win the hearts and minds of the Confederates, shall we say. Is that, I guess, but he's not, that's not why they're getting rid of Gone with the Wind, because they gave William Tecumseh Sherman a bad rap.
But Howie, the quote, you know how the quote is, those who don't learn their history are doomed to repeat it?
Right.
We're not going to have any history books or movies or music to learn from. All we're going to have is Brian Stelter's weekly emails to go back on and say, oh, this is what happened in February of 2019. It's insanity. How are people going to know anything about history?
And what are they going to put up on that pedestal in the North End now that Christopher Columbus isn't coming back? They tore down the Christopher Columbus statues in both Boston, Massachusetts, and Richmond, Virginia last night. Maybe elsewhere too, but those were the only 2 places I've noticed so far. And they've done this before in Boston, and they've always put the statue back up on its pedestal. But this time they're not going to. They said the mayor said that because he's very woke, you know. They
should just put up a woke hero. Maybe they can make a statue of AOC. I'm sure people wouldn't tear that down.
It's in the wrong part of Boston, though. It would have to be on Comm Avenue outside of Boston University.
Speaking of that, Howie, did you see the email I just sent you that someone forwarded us from Berkeley?
I see it. I haven't read it yet. What does it say?
Basically that they're sorry they ever let police officers use their bathrooms and that it really hurt a lot of people in the student body. But I'm going to let you get to that later, Howie, because I have a story. It's from Twitchy, which I think is Michelle Malkin's website, where she compiles all the most ridiculous tweets of the day.
Right.
This story is so up your alley. You're going to love it, okay? But I have to set it up a little bit. So there's a place in Seattle that has now been called the Capitol Hill Zone.
Autonomous Zone.
Autonomous Zone.
Chaz. C-H-A-Z. Chaz.
It's supposed to be a utopia for the woke people who are protesting the police, okay?
Right.
And so they had handmade fashion. It was a rather organic, place for people to be free. Speakers, there was free food, huge change.
Kind of sounds like the Paris Commune.
Yes, it was a socialist,
way back when,
woke paradise.
Yes.
And something happened, unfortunately.
Oh, you're kidding. I can't imagine that this would ever, something like this would ever happen.
Homeless people got word about the utopia, the Chaz, and they ate all the food. And I'm going to read you some of the tweets that are now going on. The homeless people we invited took away all the food at the Chaz. We need more food to keep the area operational. Please, if possible.
Why would anyone want to give them? They've seceded from the city, from the state, from the United States. Let them grow their own food in Chaz.
Howie, you got to hear this part of it, though, because this part's going to push you over the edge. Please, if possible, bring vegan meat substitutes, fruits, oats, soy products, etc.
No filet mignon, only tofu will be allowed inside the boundaries of Chaz.
And it's just typical liberal. They can't believe this didn't work. The Chaz was supposed to be this revolution, and those damn homeless people in Seattle had to come and eat all their food.
Grace, before we were joined by the TV audience. One of the callers last hour said, "Whatever happened to red flag laws? Remember that? They wanted to have these laws, and I think a lot of liberal areas did pass them. If you suspect that somebody in your neighborhood is a nut with a gun walking around outside with an AR-15 or some such weapon of mass destruction, as they say, you call the local authorities, and they come and they pick up the gun." So this guy wanted to know, is there a red flag law in Chaz? I mean, these guys are walking around with guns outside, Antifa. If it was a bad thing for white people to be walking around with guns outside the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, because they wanted to reopen the state, how come it's not a bad thing for armed white basement boys to be walking around in Chaz?
Exactly. Crickets. There's no answers for that. But Howie, I am going to get to another really funny story that will make you laugh. But first, I want to get to something a little more serious. The sister of a federal protective officer in Oakland, California, who was fatally shot during a protest for George Floyd that turned violent, told Congress today that calls to defund the police are ridiculous. I love this sound. It's from Angela Underwood Jacob. She's talking about her brother
who was black.
Who was black. Which she will say in the clip. But let's play this latest sound, Taylor.
And the heartbreak and the grief is inexplainable because it's very, very hard to articulate when your entire world has been turned upside down. I do want to know, though, when I think about all of this, is that my brother wore a uniform, and he wore that uniform proudly. I'm wondering, where is the outrage for a fallen officer that also happens to be African American?
Unfortunately for Angela and her family, there is no outrage unless you are watching some of the more Republican-leaning news networks, because you're not going to hear about her brother or any of the other black men who have died recently who are police officers on CNN or MSNBC. But Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, I know you played a clip of her in the first hour, Howie, where she was talking about Joe Biden, but she also had a wonderful response to how Trump feels about the police. And I want to play that.
Congressman Ilhan Omar calling cops cancer. What do you think that leads to? The AP reported on a shooting in front of a police department today in California. Let's stop vilifying our officers. Let's recognize injustice where we see it, but recognize all of us in here are safe because of our police officers doing their job each and every day.
But there are concerns among many Americans that people of color are not treated the same by police, and that is what many of the protests have been about. Does the president share those specific concerns?
The president believes most of our police officers are good, hardworking men and women, like David Dorn, who was killed among these riots, like Patrick Underwood, who was killed among these riots. Those are our police officers. They are our best. They are our brightest. They're absolute places of injustice. We're addressing those. We're looking at legislative proposals and EOs, and what ultimately is determined, we'll see in the coming days as to what will work as a policy prescription. But stop vilifying our officers, because they deserve better than that. They're out there. They're working hard. 750 injured just in the last week and a half, and we need to recognize that.
It's so true. And to talk about the defund the police movement that's now they're saying that's not what we mean. We don't mean defund the police. Well, that's what you said, first of all. But also the same group of people, these liberals who have been telling us for years that we shouldn't have guns and why do you need guns and all you rednecks want your guns.
Right.
Now they're telling us, and they used to say, well, you don't need guns. Just call the police. Just call the police. Now there's going to be no police. So the only people who are going to have armed security are the wealthy, which
like the ones who already have it. Look at Bloomberg, surrounded by a cadre wherever he goes. Rosie O'Donnell, she hated the fact that Walmart was selling guns, but she had her own armed security crew. De Niro has a permit to carry in New York City. All these people, they're hypocrites. There's no other way to put it.
Exactly, Howie. I wanted to let everyone know that Grace's News is brought to you by the Berklee House. We have a really awesome cheap Aster deal. It's still up on the site. 50% off. Howie, I checked out some of their food today on their website. Oh my gosh. I'm talking pretzels. I'm talking cheeseburgers, just delicious looking food. So go to howiecarrshow.com.
I've been thinking about the Dublin
deal.
Burger ever since I talked to the owner, Deb Shea, yesterday.
I was on Yelp and the Dublin Burger was there and someone wrote beneath it, this is the best burger I've ever had in my entire life. So make sure you check out the Berklee House and go to howiecarrshow.com to get your gift certificate. It's $25, but it gets you $50 worth of value.
That's good. And it's in Concord and in Northampton. So it's on the seacoast and it's in the state capital there in the middle of the state. That's the Berklee House. Check it out, howiecarrshow.com, click store. Okay. Everyone knows PayPal, but did you know they're teaming up with Honey to save you money? This is another way to save money. Honey is the free online shopping tool that automatically finds the best promo codes and applies them to your card, and now it's part of the PayPal family. Here's what you do. You add Honey to your computer. It only takes a few seconds, and you shop at all your favorite sites, just like you always do. When you check out, just click the little Apply Coupons button that pops up. Wait a few seconds for Honey to scan its database of all the working coupons on the web, and they're more than you can imagine, obviously. Then watch your price drop. Right, Grace?
It is so true, Howie, and it will try every coupon that's out there. So you don't have to say to yourself, was there a coupon that I could have used that I didn't use? It's going to enter everything into its database and then pick the one that's going to save you the most money. I save so much money because I shop online a lot, and I've been using Honey before you started advertising with them, and I'll be using them long after. They are the best.
Some of us used to cut out coupons, and then when we go to check out, we'd be looking all around for the coupons, and we couldn't find them. Those days are over now with Honey. And when it gets you the coupon, the little dollars rain down.
Yeah, and the little dollar dances.
Yeah. Honey works on nearly every online store, including Walmart, DoorDash, Home Depot, Lululemon, Macy's, and more. Honey has found over $2 billion in savings. That's why it has over 100,000 five-star reviews on the Google Chrome store. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. Honey is free to use and installs in just seconds. Get Honey today at joinhoney.com/Howie. That's joinhoney.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
The paper boy with a big microphone, Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by J.T. Kelly Real Estate Broker. He helped Carolyn Carr buy a house during COVID, and he can help you too. Contact him at 1-800-364-9200. That's 1-800-364-9200.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
So now you've broken your elbow. Have you ever broken any other bones?
When I was 8 years old, I broke my leg. I was playing touch football in Portland, and a big kid, a 15-year-old, tackled me. When I was in my 30s, I was going down the stairs, and one of the kids' toys was on the stairs, and I tripped on it and broke my foot. I lost a tooth playing touch football when I was just out of Deerfield. I got smacked in the jaw. My tooth went up, and I still have a bridge, a crown from that mishap. I have a replacement hip, and now I have a bunch of pins in my left elbow.
When do you plan to retire?
I don't plan on retiring. As an old football coach once said, once you retire, there's only one big moment left. You know what that is. Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever, is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
We went to the White House for the Christmas party. In your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were two. Number one, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk, you know? I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother."
This is Kevin from Brockton.
This is Karen from Boiling Springs, South Carolina.
This is Officer Mark calling from beautiful Stratford County, New Hampshire. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Should the Christopher Columbus statue in Boston's North End be repaired and put back on its pedestal?
Yes, although it's probably not going to be, because Marty Walsh is running for re-election next year, and he's very concerned. I don't know who he thinks is going to vote for him if he lets the vandals get away with destroying the statue, but he apparently thinks it's a good political move.
A whopping 3% hope the statue stays tucked away.
All right, Grace. Grace, by the way, do you remember last week when they said it was a political prop for President Trump to have the Bible with him when he walked across Lafayette Park to St. John's Episcopal Church in D.C.?
Oh, you mean the photo op?
Yeah, it was a photo op, right?
Yes.
So what was it when Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of them put on the what do they call it, a Kente cloth?
That was speaking truth to power.
Oh, that wasn't a photo op.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and they kneeled for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi couldn't get back up on her feet.
Right,
without help.
and Gerald Nadler, the chairman of, I think, the Judiciary Committee, he couldn't kneel in the first place. He just had to stand there. But fortunately, nobody could notice that he wasn't kneeling because he's so short.
I just wonder if the Democrats all have a meeting for, at the beginning of the week, and they say, okay, well, our prop before was masks, but no, throw away your mask, guys. We got a new one. Bring out the scarves. And then they all put the scarves on. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But Howie, you're going to love this next story. So Tom Cotton has been in the news a lot recently, mostly because he had an opinion piece in the New York Times that was pulled after New York Times again, because they were all on Twitter, horrified,
It
ashamed.
endangered them. That op-ed by a sitting U.S. senator endangered them. That's what they said in a letter to the publisher.
Endangered their movement. It was just insanity. So what did Tom Cotton decide to do? Well, he's affiliated with a political action committee, and they decided to buy some ad space on the New York Times website.
Mm-hmm.
And that ad space is not super flattering for Joe Biden. They're running an ad which targets Joe Biden and portrays him as too confused to lead. It says, while we were concerned that the woke mob would stifle debate, it's admirable that the New York Times will run these ads from Senator Cotton's PAC. We are grateful to the New York Times for sharing Senator Cotton's message that Joe Biden is too confused to be president. And this was my favorite part of the story I was reading. It said, Cotton and his allies are reveling in the internal drama his op-ed caused at the Times. Cotton said it exposes the hypocrisy of all of these woke progressives who claim to defend liberal values. Cotton's team said the drama caused a substantial boost to his fundraising that helped him purchase the ads placed in the Times.
Grace,
so
they talk about all these aggrieved staffers who were endangered by Senator Cotton's white privilege, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
The publisher of the New York Times, who fired the editorial page editor for allowing free speech on the pages of the New York Times, he's like the 6th generation member of his family to become the publisher. I mean, not only has there never been a publisher of color, there's never been a publisher outside of the Oaks Sulzberger family.
Well, Howie, you're having Dave.
Is that white privilege?
You're having Dave Harcini on in the next segment, and he can talk about this too. All of the freedom of speech that's not really coming into play anymore if you're a liberal.
Okay, we'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
We here at Matthews
Grace, how is it
Brothers
pronounced
are just as
again?
anxious as the next fellow to precious and fragile our freedoms can be. It made us realize that although we were all in the same storm, we were not all in the same boat. And we realized that every job is essential, no matter what the government may think. Our thanks to everyone whose personal sacrifices helped us weather this storm, and especially to the men and women of Matthews Brothers who stood shoulder to socially distant shoulder as they continued their mission of providing consistently superior customer service. You can see the results of their relentless passion for making wicked awesome windows and doors, but only at better lumberyards and window professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
It's time for quarantine questions. You're up, Jared. What have you been eating the most during this quarantine?
I've been eating a lot of Indian food because that's all that's in the machine downstairs, and I'm really growing to like it.
What is your drink of choice during the lockdown?
My drink of choice, I'm definitely a Scotch guy. A nice Dewar's really does it for me.
What about a non-alcoholic drink?
Coffee.
What one TV show would you recommend to people who are quarantining right now?
One show? Star Trek: The Next Generation. You can't go wrong. It's got everything you want. It's got high concept science fiction. It's got humanity. It's got great characters. It's the last truly great television show.
What is the biggest pet peeve about being at home?
I can see all the dirt that I don't clean, and it mocks me.
What is the biggest silver lining of staying at home?
I'd say wearing sweatpants, but I do that most of the time anyway. I'll say wearing my Spider-Man costume and not being judged.
What's one book you're loving right now?
I'm a big comic book guy, so I'm reading a lot of comic books. Right now, I'm going back over the classic Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Amazing Spider-Man run, about the first 40 issues.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
He's the gaff that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble with some things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me, it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap. I'm the Vice President of the United States.
Love him or hate him, Joe Biden's here for the long haul, but we can't get enough of his gaffes. Here's the best of Uncle Joe speaking before he thinks.
We choose truth over facts.
When the stock market crashed, Franklin Roosevelt got on television.
Make sure you have the record player on at night. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Okay, all right. Look, you can frack with me later, okay?
The teachers are retired. I'm married to a teacher. My deceased wife is a teacher. And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
I can tell you, and I've known 8 presidents. 3 of the minimum.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me.
Had over 40 kids shot at Kent State on a beautiful lawn. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it?
I said something that was not meant the way I said.
I mean, what is it that I said wrong? I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
From the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. One of the best columnists currently on the internet is David Harsanyi, and he works for National Review, and he's been writing for a while now, and he's just doing a great job. David Harsanyi, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words.
Well, thanks. Let's start out with Gone with the Wind. I mean, they haven't banned it, but they're going to take it away until they can properly explain it, or include some kind of disclaimer on it. I mean, what could be sillier? I mean, can it stand or fall on its own merits? I mean, I'm not a big Gone with the Wind fan. I said that earlier, but why should it be censored more than anything else?
Right. I'm not a particular fan of it either, actually, but I know that. I mean, listen, I go out of my way. I try to read about history and learn about things. I think I have a better grasp of what's going on than some editorial person at HBO who's going to explain the context of Gone with the Wind to me. I think you have to treat Americans like they're adults, and that they understand that movie from the from the 30s had a different, was in a different time and context, and that they'll get over it and live with it. If we go down this road, there are really it's a bottomless well of things that are going to need to explain to us properly by, our overlords. And I was thinking of something that I hadn't thought about before, was that now that we're moving to streaming services with everything, people aren't going to own these things as often. And it's going to be, you're going to have these politically correct companies deciding what we see and what we don't, and giving us context.
Well,
that's the problem.
I think that's why it's doing so well today on Amazon and other places where you can buy the physical copy. It's like when Hillary Clinton appeared to be the next president, gun sales were going through the roof, and they're going through the roof again. So today everybody's buying Gone with the Wind because they're concerned about it. And some of these things seem to backfire too. I was thinking about it. I used to enjoy the Charlie Chan movies, and they were put into the dustbin of history many years ago now because they were supposedly anti-Chinese. But I don't know if you ever saw them, David, but Charlie Chan outthought everybody, every white Caucasian person in those movies. He outthought the cops, he outthought the criminals. He was the brains. I mean, I don't know how it was bad, other than the fact that it was portrayed by a Caucasian. But what was the problem there? But that's the way it goes.
And think about other. I don't know much about those movies. I know what they are, but I mean, think about just tons of novels and tons of TV shows and just cultural history that's going to be trashed because people at the time had different mores and different ways of viewing things. Now, obviously, some things are legitimately racist from the past, but even those things, sometimes they also have good in them, right? So just throwing a Mark Twain book out because he uses bad words in it, or throwing out other novels that have descriptions and things that are racist, like Kipling. We have Jungle Book, for instance, and Kipling, said racist things as well. I mean, we can't just throw all this out, because, first of all, even if I didn't want to read this stuff, I still should be able to. That's what bothers me more. I have no real desire to go see Gone with the Wind tomorrow, but if I want to, I should be able to do it.
Right, exactly. And and like you say, where does it stop? I mean, The Great Gatsby has some rather bad portrayals of the plutocrats, the upper class, the one percenters, the Buchanans. Do you get rid of? Did they get to complain? I mean, where does who doesn't get?
Well,
to
I mean, I'm Jewish, right? And Shakespeare and Dickens, there are portrayals of Jewish people there that are terrible. But you know what? I'll get over it because they're both dead. And I'm just reading the story, and I'm not pained by it, and I'm going to get over it. And I think people need to do that.
And you had another great column about the problem with pick a knee a couple of days ago, and I really like that one about everybody having to kneel. And you made a really good observation, which I hadn't thought of before, which is everybody in this country is an immigrant. The reason they immigrated is because wherever they came from, they didn't want to take a knee anymore, right? So why are we insisting now that all these groups, whether they're Italians or Jewish or Irish or English for that matter, they didn't want to be a member of the Church of England. Now they have to take a knee. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm some crazy idealist or anything like that, but I'm not going to kneel for anyone because I don't accept collective guilt because of my color or anything like that. And I don't accept that someone of another color automatically deserves some kind of respect from me simply because of how they were born. I think those ideas grate against what MLK was fighting for, or what people who want equality true equality in this country are fighting for. I think there are problems in the Black community, and I want to talk about those things and try to help everyone get, find the American dream, etc. But I had nothing to do with any of the cops who've hurt Black civilians. I don't, I think it's abhorrent most of the time. I don't condone it. I don't champion it. So why should I kneel? I just don't see the reason for me to kneel. And I definitely won't kneel to disrespect the flag because my parents had to escape a place to come here to make sure that I didn't kneel anymore. And I'm not going to kneel for the flag that gave me the freedoms I have. So I don't want to do those things, and I shouldn't be smeared when I don't want to do them as a racist.
Yeah. Nor should Drew Brees, the Super Bowl winning quarterback of the New Orleans Saints.
see, for me, money, right? If I had a ton of money, that would mean that no one would be able to stop me from saying what I believed, and I definitely would not be apologizing for my beliefs. So I never can understand that. Obviously, he wants to work with his teammates,
right?
And everyone says, he needs to listen to them, which is true. We should all listen to each other. But have you noticed that the other side never has to listen at all, or make, or have to live with someone who disagrees with them? If Drew Brees doesn't agree with them, why can't they play with him? We have a lot of people with a lot of opinions in this country.
Why can't his teammates, if they're offended, why can't they listen to his stories about his grandparents, his grandfathers fighting in World War II and defending the flag? And in many cases, their grandfathers were in World War II as well. But anyway, there's another one here that I really like, because I really take this one personally, because I'm from Massachusetts, which is one of the lockdown states. It's the East Germany of New England, along with Maine. And you wrote a column, "The lockdowns are now a scandal," and again, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just insane what's been going on. I talked to a woman that I know today, a politician in Massachusetts. Her sister, she's more elderly, and her sister died of coronavirus. They couldn't have a funeral, they couldn't have a wake, they couldn't have a mass, they couldn't even hug each other at the graveside ceremonies. And she's just the state is shut down, and yet the protests, the so-called peaceful protests, are allowed to go on unstopped. Nobody seems to care about that. The same politicians who want to fine you, if not arrest you, they have no problems with these demonstrations. And it's all these liberal governors, Phil Murphy in New Jersey, Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. They're just letting all this go on when they were threatening people 2 weeks ago.
Right. And, initially I said, this is something we need to do as a country. I was for it, but I understood it. We want to flatten the curve, et cetera, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, it became, you can't go to church. And then I said to myself, well, if a governor can just sign a piece of paper, now think about it. We're not voting on this. We're not having debates about it. We're not having a legislature meet to convene to make these things. It's just a governor, like a dictator, signs a piece of paper. You can't go to church. If you can do that for 100,000 people dead in the whole country, why can't you do it for 50,000? Well, where is the arbitrary line that divides those? Gives you that power? I don't know. But then, like you mentioned, in my neighborhood, I write about a boy who committed suicide, and his family. No one could go there and hug the parents. No one, they couldn't have a real funeral. People were in the parking lot. And then a few weeks later, people are protesting. Thousands of people, shoulder to shoulder. All of a sudden, none of that mattered, which makes the whole thing to me a scam and just outrageous. And I think there's going to be a big blowback to that, because lots of people lost their livelihoods and their businesses and didn't get to see their family, or when people come to that, when they realize what happened.
What's disappointing, and you touched on it in this column about the lockdowns becoming a farce, is that so few legislators objected to this, that these weren't laws that were passed. These were just executive orders, regulations. They invoked this forgotten legislation from the Cold War, or even, further back than that. And nobody stood up. And then, the few people who, said, hey, Governor Murphy, you violated your own edict, or Governor Raimondo, you violated your own edict. They're dismissed as some kind of, fringe kooks for pointing out the obvious. And by the way, David Harsanyi, where was the ACLU during all this?
Forget them. They do not care about the Constitution anymore. And I'm happy think about this. Bill de Blasio from New York City, I was born in, will threaten yeshiva students, meet a dozen of them, will meet in a room, and he'll send the cops down to break them up. But then 2 weeks later, he invites protesters to come down and protest for a cause that he decides is important. This is authoritarianism. I mean, it's like to tell people they can come out, but other people have to stay in their homes. decide, and it's predicated on whatever political view he has. I mean, what is that about? And no one speaks up because everyone's afraid. They're afraid to say something bad about Black Lives Matters, or they're afraid that people are going to die. Politics is risk aversion, and people are cowards.
It's the same with Murphy down on the Jersey Shore. He was arresting Jewish people for going to the funerals or the weddings, and yet he leads the big march in Trenton. Yeah, he was on the boardwalk without even a mask on, taking pictures with people maybe a week later. So Northam in Virginia is another one. He's another one that was on the beach, I think, over Memorial Day. He was going to make mask mandatory in the entire state, and he's out walking the beach taking selfies with people who were enjoying. Yeah, it's like Orwell's "Some pigs are more equal than other pigs," and they get to do what they want, and the rest of us have to follow the rules, or we're going to be ticketed or ruined or smeared or who knows what else. I mean, you remember writers calling Georgia and Texas and places opening up, they were calling them death cults, right? And then 2 weeks later, they were marching themselves. Yeah, the guy that dressed up as the Grim Reaper on the Florida beaches, to somehow shame the Governor DeSantis. Now the same guy is out doing exactly what he said was going to kill everybody on the beaches. And when there's a coronavirus spike coming, right, they're going to blame the governor of Georgia, not the people who were marching. Yeah, you got plenty to write about. We all have plenty to write about. We have plenty to talk about. That's the good news. The bad news is it's sometimes it seems like almost like the end times here. It's a tough time. It's the first time I think in my life I'm really sort of worried about the future in a way that I hadn't been before. I just think people accept liberal beliefs that are un-American too often, and too many people are scared to speak up. It used to be a little different. We'll see. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm worried too. For the first time in a very long time. David Harsanyi from National Review. Thanks for being with us, and check out his stuff on nationalreview.com. It's great stuff. I'm Howie Carr.
A nightmare to liberals everywhere. He's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Folensby Inn of North Sutton, New Hampshire. Just 90 minutes from Boston on the shores of pristine Kezar Lake. Perfect for year-round relaxation. Book your stay at folensbyin.com.
It's gonna be Subaru Summer. Subaru Summer is going on now. Embrace the great outdoors in a brand new 2020 Subaru Forester, starting at $24,495 with 0% financing for up to 63 months. Plus, with your Subaru purchase, get 90-day payment deferral from our participating retailers. Powered by standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, the Forester is equipped for your summertime excursion. For complete details, visit SubaruofNewEngland.com.
Face coverings are the new normal, but the kind you use really matters because not all offer the same protection. Boomer Naturals has a highly recommended consumer covering. It's 3 layers of ultra soft and breathable cloth, and it comes in sizes for both adults and children. This cotton polyester blend cloth is made for use up to 3rd calm. Use code HowieCarr20 at checkout and save 20%. Get free shipping and handling on any order over $50.
President Trump's life has changed a lot in the last couple of years, but one thing that remains consistent is love for a good nickname.
What happened to Mini Mike? Where's he? Mini Mike, I've had him up to here. Sleepy Joe has no idea what he's even talking. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Sleepy Joe, get off the stage, please. I don't think the guy's got a chance. Sleepy Joe, I don't think he's got it. I don't know. I think Sleepy Joe may be able to limp across the finish line. Crying Chuck. I don't want to say Crazy Nancy because if I say that, you're going to say it's a copy of Crazy Bernie, and that's no good. Who that judge? Alfred E. Newman. You know, I thought Pocahontas was gone, left in embers. I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year. Did you ever hear Pocahontas? It's Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren. Little pencil neck Adam Schiff. Got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. But Nancy Pelosi, I call her Nervous Nancy. Crooked Hillary. Crooked Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton said to Crooked Hillary. Crooked Hillary, do you think he calls her Crooked Hillary, Mike?
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers.
Hey, Howie.
Yes.
Trump's doing a roundtable on race relations right now, but if you go to the calls, take Margaret first.
Margaret, okay.
Individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural but very, very pleasant.
You know, people are concerned. They wonder, you know, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
How did you come up with the name BB?
My first producer and I both had steady girlfriends, or we were married or whatever. And BB was always saying that we were whipped. You know what I mean? Finally, I said, you don't even have a girlfriend. I've never seen you with a female. As a matter of fact, I don't think you have ever had sex. You are just a virgin boy.
What is your biggest fear?
That Donald Trump will not be reelected in 2020 and that some horrible Democrat will come in and finish off the destruction of this once great country.
Out of all of your daughters, who is the least like you and why?
Probably Charlotte, even though we went to the same high school, Deerfield Academy. She has a different sense of her responsibilities than I do. Let me put it that way. She has a different regard for money. She's not a cheap bastard, in other words.
This is Deb in Danielson, Connecticut.
This is Greg in Boston, Mass.
This is Elizabeth in Wakefield, Massachusetts, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. We'll tell you more about this this college-wide missive from the president of the Berklee College of Music. They're not going to let the Boston Police Department ever use their restrooms again. I'm not making this up. It's a real letter. The Berklee College of Music, the last time I was reading about them, they were fending off allegations of sexual harassment by multiple members of the faculty, of the students. Now they're extremely woke. They're so woke they're not going to allow the police to use the restrooms in their college buildings. Let us assure you this should not have happened, and going forward it will not happen again. Thank you. Thank you, Berklee College of Music. Margaret, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Margaret.
Yes, I'm 83 years old. I live in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm originally from New England.
Yes.
From Greece. But anyways, I want to tell you that this country is a great country and should not be bashed around like it's doing. The governors and the mayors, they do not love this country. And I have to speak fast. I don't have a lot of time. And and people in this country need to get together, get off of their butts, and get happens. It's all their fault.
Thank you, Margaret. And you know, it's you say you're from New England originally. You don't want to get back to New England for a while until the states open up a little bit more. Especially Maine and Massachusetts are just paralyzed by their crazy governors. The lockdown continues. Things are good in Florida compared to most of New England, except for New Hampshire. Trudy, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Trudy.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead.
Okay, hi, Howie. It's Trudy O'Connor from Oakland, New Jersey.
Yes.
I agree with the last two speakers, absolutely. And I used to be a Democrat years ago, no more. But this is what I want to talk to you about. The TV.
Yes.
We're in the house, we're watching TV, and all I get on every channel is de Blasio and Como, who loves to hear himself talk.
Yes, he does.
Okay, he drives me crazy. Okay, but and of course Murphy too, my governor, oh boy. But put Trump on, he's only on Fox.
Yeah.
They don't cover him at all. This to me is totally wrong.
I know CNN didn't put him on last Friday for a second when he came out with those job numbers, those amazing job numbers. I mean, granted, we lost a lot of jobs, but we added 2.5 million in May. Best job numbers in the history of the country since they've been keeping records. And CNN wouldn't take it for a moment. I mean, even MSNBC took it for 11 minutes. But yeah, you're right. And Trudy, as I've said, keep watching Newsmax. But I wouldn't. I'd take a break from watching a lot of this TV. It's just very depressing. It's all about disease. Which again, Murphy, Cuomo, De Blasio, and the rest will tell you the disease is very, very serious and very deadly, and you shouldn't leave your house. But then when their supporters want to have a so-called peaceful protest, it's okay. And I don't know. I'm watching less, and Dr. Carr recommends less TV, except for Newsmax. You'll feel better in the morning. I'm Howie Carr.
respect the most?
The late George Fraser, he was a columnist for the Boston Herald, the Boston Globe. Most people have forgotten him now. Jimmy Cannon was pretty good. He was so good that Mike Barnacle used to steal stuff from him all the time. Breslin was good in his early days, not so good later on, but when he was working for the Herald Tribune back when I was a kid in New York, he was damn good.
He's New England's talk radio king. He's Howie Carr.
The only French term I like is sans culotte, without trousers. I used to describe Ted Kennedy as sans culotte because after the Obar incident, when he was wandering around down on the beach, with his 20th Scotch tumbler of the day in his hand, stumbling around with he was just there, as the Michel Casson, Patches Date said, he was just there without trousers, or as we say in Paris, sans culotte.
We've seen nothing that we can work, that I can work with President Bush on, and I'm disappointed because I thought that there might be some interest because of what he said in the campaign.
President Bush, this is your brain. This is your brain on Botox, okay? That's the lesson of that one.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Joe Biden doesn't have time for malarkey, and he also doesn't have a lot of time for geography. Take a listen.
The people of Nevada are watching, and I'm going to be out there seeing them very soon. Tonight, though, we just heard from the first 2 of 50 states. It's important that Iowa and Nevada have spoken, but look, we need to hear from Nevada and South Carolina and Super Tuesday states and beyond.
And Biden doesn't know the difference between Iran and Iraq. He's gotten it wrong 4 times.
We tried it in Iraq. It's not working, so now we're going to try, in Iran, we tried in Ukraine.
He always gets the name wrong.
I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town. This is sort of a scenic, beautiful town. I like Keene a lot.
How many times has he missed it? He's in Iowa. It's great to be in the great state of Ohio. And they say, Joe, you're in Iowa.
How many unsafe bridges you still have here in the state of Iowa? And I was just in Ohio because they have more.
We all shop online, and now you could do it a better way with Honey. Honey is the free online shopping tool that automatically finds the best promo codes and applies them to your cart. Just download Honey to your computer and shop on all your favorite websites like normal. When you check out, just click the Apply Coupons button that pops up. Wait a few seconds for Honey to scan its database of all the working coupons on the web. Then watch your price drop. Honey works on nearly every online store, including Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Macy's, Etsy, and more. And Honey has found over $2 billion in savings for its users. That's why it has over 100,000 5-star reviews on the Google Chrome store. It's 100% free to use and installs in seconds. Plus, it's backed by PayPal, so you know it's secure and reliable. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. So get Honey for free today at joinhoney.com/Howie. That's joinhoney.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Out of all of your books, which is your favorite title and why?
I think my favorite title is Hitman because it's very effective. I thought long and hard about it. We're going to make it Boston Hitman, but then why make it Boston Hitman? Just make it Hitman. Make it a universal subject.
If you could have dinner with one author, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would probably have dinner with William Shakespeare. I know that's a cliche response, but he was the greatest writer in the English language. No question about it.
If you won Mega Millions, would you retire completely?
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
This Congress started off with the Democrats, folks on the left saying we should abolish ICE, then move to we should abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security. And now they're talking about abolishing the police. It is pure insanity to defund the police.
God forbid you found out a coworker of yours was killed or injured in the line of duty in the course of doing their job. You just get the text. You got this text a couple times a year. That's policing.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
We all read in the papers that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. Everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Stop treating us like animals and bugs and start treating us with some respect.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
You know, I'm looking for where, let's get Gone with the Wind. Can we get Gone with the Wind back, please?
The movie classic Gone with the Wind pulled from HBO Max, the streaming platform owned by CNN's parent, Warner Media.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Much of the 1939 film is set on a Georgia plantation and has long been criticized for its idealized and sanitized depiction of slavery.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Unchained and unstoppable.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it.
Did I say that loud? Hey, you pretty much yelled it.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
It's certainly reassuring to know that should I ever decide to watch Gone with the Wind again, that there will be some disclaimer before the movie starts written by some social justice warrior snowflake from Hollywood telling me all about the movie. I wonder if they'll mention that Hattie McDaniel, the first Black person to ever win an Academy Award for that movie, was the daughter of a slave. Will they mention that?
By the way, it's Hattie's birthday today. So happy birthday. Hattie.
Happy birthday, Hattie. And, as I recall, I haven't read a lot about Gone with the Wind, but it was made by MGM. So Sam Goldwyn, I think he was getting a lot of heat about how to make the movie. The Klan wanted it to go a certain way. And the writer was actually Ben Hecht, who was a liberal Jewish newspaperman from Chicago. He wrote the front page with Charles MacArthur, and then he moved out to Hollywood. And I think he wrote the famous line back. He said, there's only idiots out here. Don't tell anybody, because of the great Hollywood screenwriters. And then he worked for Israel after. I guess that would be held against him now that he helped support Israel when they were founded in 1947, 48. But it was written and put together by very liberal people for those days in Hollywood. And now everything has changed, hasn't it? All right, time now for the chump line.
Hey, Howie, I'm looking for a place to erect a statue of Leif Erikson. Got any suggestions?
Yeah, he's got problems too, doesn't he? He predated Christopher Columbus by 400 years when he came over here. He must have oppressed somebody when he landed in the maritime provinces or some such place.
Frankly, liberals, I don't give a damn.
Nor do I when you get right down to it. I don't care. If the thing is though, you don't want to have to buy all these movies because they're going to just really start banning movies in a big way. People have been texting all day saying Blazing Saddles is next. I'm surprised Blazing Saddles hasn't been taken out already. Not that I want to encourage it.
Well, once Mel Brooks dies, you can say bye-bye.
You think so?
I don't think they'd do that while he's still alive.
You think they care about Mel Brooks? He's an old white guy.
I mean, he's the guy that created The Producers, which made fun of the Nazis. It was one of the first movies to really go after them. I mean, aside from things like The Three Stooges and Abbott and Costello and stuff like that. But
The Producers is a very funny movie. If they ever, before they go after it, you should watch it. That's a movie that's worth spending an evening with for laughs.
The Gene Wilder version, not Matthew Broderick.
Oh, of course, that goes without saying.
Both still good. Both are good.
The Chump Line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. This week, taking some time to send a big thank you out to all the windy doties of the world who, despite the onslaught of negative news at an ever-increasing pace, manage to keep a cheery disposition by doing what they've always done, listening to Howie Carr.
Whoever thought Olivia de Havilland would outlive Gone with the Wind?
Very good. It will be hard to top that one on the Chump Line today. Olivia de Havilland, of course, is one of the stars, and she's, I believe, 103 years old now, living in Paris as a semi-recluse. I guess if you're 103, you don't get out as much as you used to under the best of circumstances. But that's a good line. Good work, Chump Line caller.
Hey, Howie. Is it too late to get Christopher Columbus in the death pool?
It's not too late to get his holiday, although it may be too late because I think his holiday is on the way out. It's going to be, when is the bill going to be introduced in Congress to rename Christopher Columbus Day?
Hi, Howie. Governor Patrick calling. You know, I think there's some common sense reforms that will reduce the anecdotes caused by these peaceful protesters. For instance, there should be a 2-week waiting period on all brick purchases, and we need to ban high-capacity Molotov cocktails. And, of course, we need to close the racetrack loophole. Then we're going to be fine.
You'd be run out of the Democratic Party for any of those proposals at the state convention. Governor Patrick, come on. You can't have a waiting period for bricks.
If we get rid of the police, we will arrest the shop owners and the churchgoers.
I was thinking about that when I read this story. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, she gave an interview to The Root, and she basically suggested she was into defunding the police, and then had to immediately call in the local reporters and say, I didn't really mean I was for defunding the police. And I thought the same thing to myself. If she really defunded the police in Michigan, who would arrest that 77-year-old barbershop owner who just keeps drubbing her in court?
Hey, are we going to have a 4th of July parade this year? No, comrades, that's too American.
Yeah, is there going to be anything on the Esplanade, or is it just going to be a demonstration and an Antifa, riot?
Hitler couldn't do it. Stalin couldn't do it. Khrushchev couldn't do it. But I, Dr. Fauci, destroyed the United States in just 3 months.
He had a lot of help, though. He was a useful idiot, as Stalin or Khrushchev or one of those guys used to say. And there were many involved, including some of the people we've been talking about today: Cuomo, De Blasio, Whitmer, Charlie Parker, Janet Mills, Pritzker, all those people.
Oh, manpower. I can't believe these governors are holding press conferences just to say 5 or 6 more people contracted a virus. Back in my day, that's less than the number of ladies I'd infect during a night on the town. Who would?
He's got a point, doesn't he?
Hi, I'm here for the Chaz Autonomous Zone recruitment training. But before boot camp starts, can I get a grande salted caramel mocha latte with soy milk and vanilla substitute?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Is Starbucks going to be open in Chaz? In case you weren't listening earlier, Chaz stands for Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. That's the part of Seattle that has seceded from the city and has been taken over by Antifa. And they're demanding that more food be brought in, but it has to be all vegetarian food. They don't want any Chick-fil-A's. Chick-fil-A will not be permitted to bring in relief supplies to Chaz.
2 words for Chaz: armed response.
Yeah, dream on. Won't be. Can you imagine Jay Inslee? He's probably wetting his pants right now thinking about Chaz and what's he going to do about Chaz. I think, though, what's going to happen is they're going to need to go to Starbucks, and so they're just going to come out. All they have to do is just let them come out one at a time, and then when they want to go back, just tell them to go back to mom's basement.
Hey, Howie, where's Janet Reno when you need her?
You think Janet Reno would send any? No. Even in those days, Janet Reno wouldn't have gone. And these are their people that have set up Chaz.
That was your last chump line message. Thank you for calling Howie Carr, you chump.
All right. That's it for the Chump Line today. The Chump Line is the recorded voicemail message service of the Howie Carr Show. You can call and leave a message at any hour of the day or night, including weekends. The Chump Line number, if you'd like to leave such a message, 844-500-4242, 844-500-4242. Press 2 for the Chump Line. Leave your message. We may or may not play it at this time each weekday. And if you can't get enough of the Chump Line, we have a second feature, a podcast, Chop Chumps. We post it every night right after the show around 7 p.m. Eastern time. Check it out wherever you get your Howie Carr podcast. By the way, I'm told that Gone with the Wind was produced by David O. Selznick, and he had to borrow Clark Gable, Rhett Butler, from MGM. That's how Sam Goldwyn figured in on it, but he was borrowed. It was Selznick's movie, written by Ben Hecht. All right. The Chump Line is brought to you every weekday by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. This week, taking some time out to send a big thank you to all the Windy Doties of the world who, despite the onslaught of negative news at an ever-increasing pace, managed to keep a cheery disposition by doing what they've always done, listening to Howie Carr.
Whoever thought Olivia de Havilland would outlive Gone with the Wind?
I really like that one for some reason. I'm Howie Carr.
He's suave, he's debonair, he's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you by the Nauset Beach Inn. All ocean view rooms are $125 from June 8th through the 18th. To grab one before they're gone, go to nausetbeachinn.com and click on special offers. Do something for yourself or your dad and get him the hair he's wanted for this Father's Day. DiStefano Hair Restoration is now offering its once-a-year Father's Day special, which includes a free $500 gift. You could save close to $2,500 on a hair transplant of your choice. This offer was so popular last year that they are limiting spots to only 10 listeners. Dr. Highness did a great job on my hair, and he will for you too. To learn more about the Father's Day special, go to hairman.com/Howie. You may have more time on your hands now, so take advantage of it and get the hair you've been wanting for years. People always stop me and say it looks so natural. To take advantage of this great offer, go to hairman.com/Howie. DiStefano Hair Restoration has 5 locations in New England and is open for business. For more information on location openings in the Father's Day special, go to hairman.com/Howie. Get the hair you have always wanted today for yourself or your dad.
Mike Bloomberg is spending millions of dollars on all of his campaign ads, but we put together some of our favorite Bloomberg clips, and guess what, Mike? This one's totally free.
I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little. To be a farmer, it's a process. So you dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. Then we had 300, you could learn that. Donald Trump is the world's biggest schoolyard bully. Big gay ice cream is the best. The Communist Party wants to stay in power in China, and they listen to the public. When the public says, I can't breathe the air, Xi Jinping is not a dictator. He has to satisfy his constituents, or he's not going to survive.
He's not a dictator?
No, he has a constituency to answer to. I'm ready to get to work, so let's get it on. I would be 79 years old when I took office. To start a 4-year job, maybe an 8-year job at age 79 may not be the smartest thing to do.
Why did you say what you said in that 2015 speech?
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Who was your favorite actor?
Humphrey Bogart, no doubt about it. I love all the old Humphrey Bogart movies. Jimmy Cagney would be a close second.
Do you have a celebrity crush?
No celebrity crushes.
Ginger or Marianne?
I always was a Marianne person. Never was bowled over by that Hollywood look. Plus, Ginger was in more revealing attire, scantily clad.
Salty or sweet?
Neither, but if I have to pick, I'll go with sweet.
Movies or TV?
TV.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's, although I'd prefer Five Guys.
Facebook or Twitter?
Definitely Twitter. I hate Facebook.
Cake or pie?
I'm a cake guy.
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, obviously.
Winter or summer?
Summer. Good Lord. Why would you want winter? It's cold and it's dark.
This is Paul in North Andover, Mass.
This is Luana in Lexington, Massachusetts.
This is Lauren in Augusta, Maine, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, fellow members of the motion picture industry, and honored guests. This is one of the happiest moments of my life. And I want to thank each one of you who had a part in selecting me for one of the awards. For your kindness, it has made me feel very, very humble. And I shall always hold it as a beacon for anything that I may be able to do in the future. I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my raised industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel. And may I say thank you. God bless you.
Happy birthday, Hattie McDaniel. Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Thinking about it now, our poll question should have been, have you ever seen Gone with the Wind? But the poll question today is, should the Christopher Columbus statue in Boston's North End be repaired and put back on its pedestal?
Yes, it should be.
97% agree.
Okay. All right, I got to read this letter from the Berklee College of Music. And, you know, you may recall reading about the Berklee College of Music a couple of months ago. And here's the headline that you were reading a couple of months ago. Sexual harassment allegations against professors set off social media frenzy at Berklee College of Music. Well, they've got bigger fish to fry now than the professors harassing the students at Berklee College of Music. This is from the president of Berklee College, Roger H. Brown, and other assorted kingpins, fat cats of Berklee College of Music. We are writing to follow up on the public safety message posted on Sunday night about Boston police officers' access to the Berklee Performance Center. Following the peaceful protest at the State House on May 31st, you may remember it better as a spree of looting and rioting. Boston police staged officers at various intersections throughout the city. One of those locations was at Mass Ave and Boylston Street. On Sunday, Berklee Public Safety allowed officers stationed there access to restroom facilities in the Berklee Performance Center. The decision to... Can we have the Dragnet music, please? Dun, 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 dun. It was Sunday, May 31st. We were working the night watch out of riot control. The decision to allow them into our facilities was ours. This was not a formal decision by the institution, but an informal one made on the spot. We have heard from many of you personally and across social channels of your hurt and anger that this access was permitted. Allowing police officers into the space to go to the bathroom was in no way, they say that, but I put that in, go to the bathroom, was in no way meant to undermine Berkeley's support for Black Lives Matter. And here comes the money paragraph. Again, they allowed Boston police officers to use the restroom while they were quelling a riot in the city. We understand that many members of our community feel betrayed. We are deeply sorry for the impact this had on our community and for perpetuating feelings of oppression, silencing, and marginalization. We will make a more concerted effort to consider the effects of our actions. Then, this is in boldface, the last sentence. Let us assure you, this should not have happened, and going forward, it will not happen again. Could I have the Dragnet theme, please? There was no place for us to go to the bathroom, so we evacuated the perimeter before we evacuated other things. And all the buildings, including the Berklee Performance Center, were trashed. Is that what they want? Is that what they want? What is wrong with these people? They don't have enough problems with the professors touching everything but the third rail. Now they want to deny the law enforcement in the community access to the restroom facilities. Are you kidding me? 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're listening to, not what your roommates or family are listening to. Now's the perfect time to get a pair of earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycons start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Howie. The Moonbats always say Donald Trump isn't very bright. But what about Barack Hussein Obama? Let's listen to some of his greatest hits.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go. I don't know what the term is in Austrian.
The Cambridge police acted stupidly.
And there has never been any man or woman more qualified for this office than Hillary Clinton.
There are neighborhoods around the country where it is easier for a 12 or 13-year-old to purchase a gun and cheaper than it is for them to get a book.
I believe in the Second Amendment. It's there written on the paper. If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke.
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia, not Al Qaeda. You said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
With all the uncertainty in the world, feeling safe at home has never been more important. It's why I want to talk to you about Simply Safe Home Security. They're longtime friends of the Howie Carr Show, and for good reason. Simply Safe has made it easy to finally get comprehensive protection for your home. There's no technician or salesperson that needs to come and disrupt your house. Thanks. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. You just order online, set it up yourself in under an hour, and your home is protected 24/7 with emergency dispatch for break-ins, fire, and more, all for just 50 cents a day. And we're not the only fans of Simply Safe. U.S. News and World Report named Simply Safe best overall home security of 2020. Go to simplysafehowie.com to try it out for yourself. That's simplysafehowie.com to make sure they know that our show sent you. That's simplysafehowie.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you say?
Get a state job, because behind the job comes the pension.
What's the best advice anyone's ever given you?
Most advice is pretty forgettable.
What's the best money you've ever spent?
The investment I made to leave the corporate radio prison I was in, the worst people I ever worked for, no doubt about it. I'd probably be dead if I were still working for them.
If you were on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 things, what would you bring?
A radio, a Wi-Fi system, obviously, and a computer, and I would bring some books. Don't ask me which books, too hard a question.
What was your dad's job when you were growing up?
My dad worked as a resort hotel manager. He worked in Florida at the Breakers in the winter, and then he worked at the Mountain View House, as it was called then, in Whitefield, New Hampshire, and various other places.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Is Kennedy Babylon 2 your last book?
No, if I think of another topic for a book I want to write, I'll go for it. But I think it's the last of my Kennedy Babylon series. I made Kennedy Babylon 2 kind of long because I wanted to get everything in there. Now there's other stuff I could write about, but I'm Kennedy now.
Since having the sleeve operation, do you miss not eating big meals?
No, I don't. I can still eat what I used to eat. I just can't eat as much. I'm now very surprised how much I used to eat. I'm surprised at how much people I eat with consume. It's just hard to believe that I used to eat that much, but no, it's not a problem.
How is Mr. Gooner since Pearl's passing?
Mr. Gooner is drowning his sorrows in food.
What is the most trouble you ever got into as a kid?
My father was giving me grief one time up at Moosehead Lake in Maine, and I threw a rock at him. He didn't much like that.
Live from the map.
Thank you, Howie. It's my pleasure to be with you again. Thank you so very much.
So tell us your take on the way George Floyd's death is being used in American politics and society today.
Well, they're trying to shame America, and they're trying to, they're trying to. They're trying to make America ask for forgiveness, and America's already repented. But forgiveness can't be earned, expected, or wanted. And once you have said, I'm sorry, there should be enough, but not for these people. At the March on Washington, Dr. Martin Luther King said, when will we be satisfied? And he said, we won't be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. And that's the fancy way of saying never. What you saw with George Floyd's murder was a horrible thing, but it was a visual representation of what the Democrat Party has been doing to the Black community for the past 220 years, ever since its inception. The way they supported slavery, Jim Crowism, and now aborting almost half the Black babies being born. And they're trying to deflect it and say that Donald Trump has only been in office for 3 years, but it's the Democrat Party. And in my book, The Iron Triangle, and on my website, irontriangle.com, I just document all of it. I showed that the Democratic Party has always had as their primary motivating factor the control of the Black community, and they use most Black preachers, most Black politicians, and most Black civic organizers to get it done. And you saw the Iron Triangle in raw, living color this whole past week in action.
Well, again, it's, Minneapolis, they have a radical leftist mayor. They have a nutty governor who's kept the state shut down for no good reason with COVID-19. Except for a few Republican congressmen, the state is totally run by and I guess the legislature, they have a Republican majority in the Senate, but the state is basically controlled by the Democrat Party. And now somehow this is the Republicans murdered George Floyd. I don't even think you can say he was murdered anyway. But certainly it's not on the Republicans, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, nothing is on the Republicans. I talked to this urban station in Chicago a few days ago, and when the lady confronted me, said, "Is there systematic racism in America against black people with the police and with America? Can you say that it's not?" I said, "Of course there is, and it all comes from the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party owns every failing school, every drug corner, every prostitute house, every housing project, every broken home in the black community. They control the mayors, the police department, the juries, the sheriff's department, everything that locked black men up. And George Floyd was just a microcosm of it. He came from a single parent family. The welfare state broke that up. Then they put him in a housing project, and then they sent him to a public school. Didn't get a good education. He couldn't finish college because of his bad education in the public school. He got arrested, spent 5 years in prison, and when he came out, they disarmed him. He couldn't find work, and then they ended up killing him. And they've been doing this to poor black men in America for 220 years. But they have the ability to deflect it and tell us that it's these dirty white Republicans that are doing it. And we then ask the Democratic Party to come and protect us. Let's make one thing clear: the Second Amendment was designed for your protection. And if this riot didn't do anything, it made clear to everyone. It took away every argument against gun control. Why do you need an AK-47? I think the riots answered that question. Why do you need a clip with 30 bullets in it? I think the riots answered that question. The police were told to stand down by these Democrat mayors, and they allowed their shops and their homes to be looted, and they told the police to do nothing. So now when people start asking you about the Second Amendment, you realize now why it's so essential and why the Democratic Party doesn't want you to have it, so they can have control over you. That's all it is to it.
Look at what happened in Chicago. The gangs were roaming free because, as you say, the police were ordered to stand down, and the Latino gangs were defending those neighborhoods against the looters with guns, with long rifles. And you're right. I mean, this is what and Jason Riley had a great column in the Wall Street Journal today saying, where was Black Lives Matter with the fact that when the most people were murdered in Chicago 2 weekends ago in 60 years, more, and they were all black people, none of them shot by the police, and there's no mention of it on the left-wing TV networks or the newspapers. It's only mentioned in the Chicago papers and in a couple of conservative newspapers and websites.
Well, that tells you that they're proud. That Joe Biden said he's proud of his record in the black community. He said that if you don't vote for him, you're not black, because that's how he sees it. He got the endorsement of James Clyburn because that's how he sees Black America. He sees us on our knees. Even our athletes want to protest on their knees. He sees us on our knees. They want us on our knees, coming to them, begging them for this and that and the other. But and the black community has to get out of this. We're like Ahab, chasing after Moby Dick, full of vengeance and hatred. And at the end, what does Ahab do? He takes the whole ship down with him, doesn't he? Because his envy, because his hatred drove everyone. And this is what's happening to America. And of course, it's that great line when Starbucks said, "I see a madman, but get more madmen." This is what this was. You saw the whole world go mad as this whole hysteria just captured everyone. We have to start talking to one another again. And most of the time, we have to go back to our Christian faith. Well, all the time. 75% of white people say they're Christian. 85% of black people say they're Christian. Yet there was no Christianity out there at all, with the envy, the hatred, the jealousy, the murder, the killing. I am a Christian. I cannot be oppressed. I cannot made to feel inferior to anyone. I am an heir of Jesus Christ. How can you make me a victim? How can I look at you and say you oppress me? No one can oppress me. We cannot stop racism. All we can do is respond to it. It's not stopping it. It's how you respond to it that matters. I cannot respond to it with hatred and violence. They have to watch us and watch how we love one another and treat one another. And that's how we bring this thing together. It's not the hatred and the violence. And Black Lives Matter is a Marxist, anti-Christian, anti-family organization that's doing nothing but taking advantage of black pain for white liberal gain. That's all. They are funded by them. They take care of them, and they care nothing about us, like you said.
Well, you say there were no Christians out the last few weeks, but I mean, look, they've restricted church services in all of the blue states over the last few weeks. The same governors who said you can't have any church services or you can't have more than 10 people in a church. They're marching at the head of the rioters.
Yeah, in the Iron Triangle, I talk about how we attributed things to the Democratic Party that should only go to God. It started with the March on Washington when Martin Luther King stood up there and said that 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. That was not true. I was born free. He says we come to government for our unalienable rights, and that's not true because government doesn't give you your unalienable rights. They come from God. They're irrevocable, non-transferable, they're unsellable. We haven't been taught that. Since the Civil Rights Movement, we've been taught that we have to depend on government for everything. Even when they marched, they demanded that federal troops would come and protect them while they marched because they didn't even want to protect themselves against the white night riders that might come and attack them. So now in these big cities, while all of this mayhem is going on, they're calling for the police. And Howie, even if the police wanted to protect them all the time, it's impossible for them to do that. Your Second Amendment right to defend yourself is an absolute. And no man should ever vote for any politician that says that he's going to disarm him. Machiavelli said there's no relation between an armed man and an unarmed man. You cannot have a relationship when a guy has a 38 in your face and you have nothing. So right now we are giving our protection, they will allow them to violate their rights. And what did Ben Franklin say? Those who voluntarily give up their freedom for security will get neither. Watching what happened to George Floyd was that in live and living color. Security for freedom for security, and this is what you get chaos. We have to start living again as Americans. We have to get jobs where we are so good at our vocation, our color doesn't matter. We have to start practicing our faith again. And then we have to arm ourselves so that we can protect our own unalienable and constitutional rights so we cannot be harmed by anyone. We've given, black people have given all those over to government. And because of that, we are at the lowest rung of American society. And that's the only way it's going to change. We have to decide. It's a decision we have to make.
Vince Ellison, it's always a pleasure to have you on the air. Vince is the author of The Iron Triangle, Inside the Liberal Democrat Plan to Use Race to Divide Christians in America in Their Quest for Power and How We Can Defeat Them. And you have a website, too. Is it theirontriangle.com?
Yes, irontrianglebook.com.
Irontrianglebook.com. Great.
And they can follow me on Twitter at Vince E. Ellison.
Vince E. Ellison. Okay, thanks a lot, Vince Ellison. We appreciate it. 844-500-4242. What's the number one sign of a bad home security system? A home security system that's so complicated that you never use it. This is exactly the type of security system that Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against. They believe that simple is safer, and it's exactly why Simply Safe is the home security for right now, when feeling safe at home has never been more important. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24/7. Order online with the click of a button. Open the box, place the sensors, plug it in, and your home is protected around the clock. No technician or salesperson has to come and disrupt your home. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. You don't have to sign a contract at all. And the price is a third of what the other companies charge. Grace can tell you about this. She just bought a house and she's ordered a Simply Safe system, right, Grace?
Yes, I did. And I'm so excited to finally have a security system in my home that can watch my home when I'm in there, but also when I'm not there. Because, nowadays, Howie, we have a lot of people drop things off, packages, things like that. And it's nice to be able to watch your home when you're not there.
Exactly. Simply Safe, now more than ever, Simply Safe. Simply Safe was named Best Overall Home Security of 2020, that's this year, obviously, by U.S. News and World Report. And their 24/7 professional monitoring and emergency dispatch starts at just 50 cents a day. Head to simplysafehowie.com and get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafehowie.com to make sure they know that our show sent you. I'm Howie Carr.
Howie Carr. You can trust him. He's not like the others.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by 110 Grill. All Massachusetts locations are now open for outdoor dining on their beautiful patios. To find your nearest location or to sign up for their loyalty program, go to 110grill.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you say?
Get a state job, because behind the job comes the pension.
What's the best advice anyone's ever given you?
Most advice is pretty forgettable.
What's the best?
Taylor,
Yes?
can you tell Grace to send out that Berklee thing? Just send out and just say, just put WTH.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
If you were on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 things, what would you bring?
A radio, a Wi-Fi system, obviously, and a computer, and I would bring some books. Don't ask me which books, too hard a question.
What was your dad's job when you were growing up?
My dad worked as a resort hotel manager. He worked in Florida at the Breakers in the winter, and then he worked at the Mountain View House, as it was called then, in Whitefield, New Hampshire, and various other places. You've been hearing me talk about Super Beats for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beats? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beats are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beats. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even support blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just 1 scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeatsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beats yourself. www.superbeatsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeatsradio.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Would you say you're more like your mom or your dad?
No, I don't think I ended up looking like either of them, now that I think about it. My mother worked hard, but she never really learned how to make a lot of money. And my father didn't work so hard, but he had a good personality. He was good with people. He was better than me with people. That's what I'm saying. I'm not like either one of them, I don't think.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have a brother, a younger brother.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Well, all kinds of history. I loved all kinds of history.
If you could have 3 houses besides the ones you already have, anywhere in the world, where would they be?
I wouldn't mind having another house in Palm Beach on Clark Avenue. Maybe a place in southern Maine. I don't need a third place.
Didn't you already have a house in Maine?
I did. It was on an island. It was not a good fit for the mailroom manager.
I've heard the house was haunted. Is that true?
Yes. And, my wife didn't really care that much for my relatives.
She tweeted it out.
Good.
This is Lynn in sunny Las Vegas.
This is Dan from the moonbat capital of Jamaica Plain.
This is Gigi in Leominster, Massachusetts, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. People are asking where they can get the Vince Ellison interview. It's we post the entire show as podcasts, so that would be in the 3rd hour of tonight's show. You can get or tell your friends to listen to the Vince Ellison interview, and he's great. And I just wanted to talk about this Berklee College of Music. We just tweeted that out as well. This statement about how they're apologizing for allowing the Boston police to use the facilities during the riots a week ago Sunday night, and it's just crazy. And this is the same college that had to fire 11 professors for sexual misconduct in the 13 years preceding the investigation being publicized in the newspapers. 11 faculty members fired for sexual harassment, and they're concerned about Boston police using the bathroom. What did Mara Healy, the Attorney General, say when women were objecting to having males come in? Transgenders, whatever you want to call them, come into the ladies' room. She said if they don't like it, they can just hold it. Well, I guess we can just extend that to the Boston Police Department. Do they allow junkies to come in and shoot up in the bathrooms? I'll bet that's considered okay for Berkeley. But if you're a cop, it's not gonna happen. We understand many members of our community feel betrayed by the fact that they allowed the cops to use the restrooms. We are deeply sorry for the impact this had on our community and for perpetuating feelings of oppression, silencing, and marginalization. Silencing? Oppression? Marginalization? Let us assure you this should not have happened, and going forward, it will not happen again. Okay, hold it. Just hold it, police. Sue, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, Howie, just a couple of things. I've never seen so many guilty people in all my life. The Democrat KKK party. Vince Ellison, I don't know where he came from, but he was wonderful. We need more Vince Ellisons out there. But the other thing is the kids have been taught in school. I had a black friend. We talked about race and all that. They were taught that Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat. And I had to straighten her out.
The chairman of the Democrat National Committee right now, so Tom Perez, he said a couple of months ago that George Wallace was a Republican. They have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, I assume it was an honest mistake, although who knows with them. Go ahead.
And she thought the Republicans were the KKK, and Jim Crow was a Republican. I had to straighten her out on everything. And she grew up in the inner city schools. Mm-hmm. This is what they're teaching these morons today. The Democrat Party is still the party of the KKK. They're keeping the blacks on the plantation on the inner cities, and it makes me sick. But Vince Ellison, we need more Vince Ellisons out there.
We need to remember Robert Byrd, the Grand Kleagle of the West Virginia Ku Klux Klan. When are they going to rename all the buildings in West Virginia and all the dams and the libraries and everything else is named for Robert Byrd, the former Ku Klux Klan member from West Virginia. And he just died about 10 years ago. And I believe when he died, Hillary Clinton said he was her mentor. And Bill Clinton, his first job in politics was working for Senator William Fulbright from Arkansas, who was a big ally of Governor Orville Faubus, who was the governor of Arkansas who refused to integrate Little Rock High School, and President Eisenhower had to send in the regular army. I think he sent in the 82nd Airborne to desegregate the Arkansas high school, Little Rock High. And, these are and Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, he's appeared in a Klan getup and blackface. The attorney general of Virginia, blackface. I mean, who are these people kidding? And I have no doubt that she's telling the truth, that they tell people that Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat. Abraham Lincoln went to war against the Democrat Party. Jefferson Davis was the Democrat. 844-500-4242. I don't know if Christopher Columbus was a Democrat or not. They're tearing down a lot of statues of Democrats these days all over the place. I know Andrew Jackson, they want to take him off the $20 bill. He was a Democrat. Thomas Jefferson was the first Democrat, and they want to strip him of all of his honors. What about Woodrow Wilson at Princeton? He was a segregationist, governor of Virginia, like Ralph Northam. They haven't done anything about him. What about Yale University? When is that going to be renamed? Yale, the original Yale, I think his name was Elihu Yale. He was a slave trader, you know. I'm Howie Carr.
Face coverings are the new normal, but the kind you use really matters because not all offer the same protection. Boomer Naturals has a highly recommended consumer covering. It's 3 layers of ultra soft and breathable cloth, and it comes in sizes for both adults and children. This cotton polyester blend cloth is made for use up to 30 days when hand washed between uses. Order now at boomernaturals.com. Use code HowieCarr20 at checkout and save 20%. Get free shipping and handling on any order over $50.
The Mother's Day special was a huge success.
Of course it was. A Buy American, Support America t-shirt and a free book for $19.99. Who wouldn't love that deal?
Actually, we've had a few complaints.
From who?
A lot of people forgot that Father's Day comes right after Mother's Day, so now they wish they had bought their dad a gift too.
Oh boy. Okay, we'll run a Father's Day deal too. But then we're done. The prices can't be this low forever.
Go to HowieCarrshow.com and click on the banner to get your dad the perfect gift for only $19.99. Orders over $49.99 get free shipping.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
You are known as a cheap bastard. Which one of your daughters is the cheapest and why?
Charlotte is the cheapest, and I say that because she's always using my credit card. We keep changing the credit cards over and over again, and she keeps busting in and using them again. Most recently, just this week, she spent $75 at AT&T.
What's the cheapest thing you do now to save money?
The cheapest thing I do currently to save money, I guess, is I take all the bottles and cans back to the market basket every weekend. I always like to save that money. You know, I can't stand to throw those bottles and cans away and have the unclaimed returns go to the state of Massachusetts for illegal aliens.
Do you recycle?
Yes, I do recycle. When I got on the town meeting, I saw that the town dump was probably the only department in the town that was running in the black, and it's because of all the recycling that was going on. So I try to keep my taxes down that way.
He might not be flashy, but he's there when it counts. Here's 1 minute of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
For the first time in my memory, I agree with Nancy Pelosi. I am indeed the Grim Reaper when it comes to the socialist agenda that they've been ginning up over in the House.
You watch the fight, you watch the tactics, but here's what I want to tell you. In the very near future, Judge Kavanaugh will be on the United States Supreme Court. Noted with great interest the Green New Deal. And we're going to be voting on that in the Senate. We'll give everybody an opportunity to go on record and see how they feel about the Green New Deal. Well, first on the impartiality issue, do you think Chuck Schumer's impartial? Do you think Elizabeth Warren is impartial? No. Bernie Sanders is impartial? So let's quit the charade. This is a political exercise. Nobody is supposed to be guilty until proven innocent in the United States of America. Look, we're at an impasse. We can't do anything until the speaker sends the papers over. So everybody enjoy the holidays.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Can you remember any time in your life when you were starstruck?
One time I saw Peter Vesey, the NBA columnist for the New York Post. He was in the Herald sports department.
I really liked his column, so I went up and introduced myself to him. Then one time there was Cousin Brucey from WABC, and I used to listen to him driving back and forth between Chapel Hill and Deerfield when I was in college. Everybody on the East Coast listened to him. I couldn't believe that I was in the presence of Cousin Brucey.
Do you ever play bridge anymore?
No, I haven't played bridge in a very long time. Nobody I know plays bridge. I think my bridge days are behind me.
Do you think you'd still be good at it?
I'm not a great bidder, but I know how to count cards. That to me is the essence of playing a hand of bridge, is to be able to count cards.
What is a rhino?
Rhino is a Republican in name only. Think Paul Ryan. Oh, think Mitt Romney. Think Jeff Flake.
Here's Donald Trump Jr. proving once and for all the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
They hate Trump more than they love America. For them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning. I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To make this guy into a religious scholar, that's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer is a purveyor of organic and fine exotic meats. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids. Children are off limits. Remember this one? If 13-year-old Barron Trump is not off limits, Hunter Biden sure as is not off limits. Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, their heads would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that? Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaps anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president of the next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall. Anyway, you know what I mean. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon. We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Christmas.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920, not 2020.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Who do you consider the biggest rhino in the Republican Party?
Probably is Paul Ryan. I wish a Republican were still the speaker, but Paul Ryan was scarcely a Republican. And there was a reason he was Mitt Romney's running mate, because we had a rhino ticket in 2012.
Where did the expression, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" come from?
That comes from the State House. There used to be a state rep who sometimes would talk about atrocities that were happening in crime. And he would get up there and he would say, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" And I just...
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
This Congress started off with the Democrats, folks on the left saying we should abolish ICE, then moved to we should abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security. And now they're talking about abolishing the police. It is pure insanity to defund the police.
God forbid you found out a coworker of yours was killed or injured in the line of duty in the course of doing their job. You just get the text. You got this text a couple times a year. That's policing.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
We all read in the papers that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school.
We're working on getting Dominic. He's going to voicemail right now.
Okay.
Everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Stop treating us like animals and thugs and start treating us with some respect.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
You know, I'm looking for let's get Gone with the Wind. Can we get Gone with the Wind back, please?
The movie classic Gone with the Wind pulled from HBO Max, the streaming platform owned by CNN's parent Warner Media.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Much of the 1939 film is set on a Georgia plantation and has long been criticized for its idealized and sanitized depiction of slavery.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Unchained and unstoppable.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it.
Did I say that loud? Hey, pretty much yelled it.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
844-500-4242. You know, several people have come up with the solution to this problem with the Berklee Performance Center in the Back Bay and how they're not going to allow cops to use the facilities even when they're defending the college property from looters. Just say they're transgendered. There's no way they can prevent a trans. I mean, it's all the guys would be going into the ladies' room, and the female officers would be going into the men's room. But I mean, they certainly wouldn't try to stand by if someone self-identified as a female, would they? I don't think so. Plus, there have also apparently been some court rulings that if you have a disease, I don't know what the Crohn's disease, maybe it's called, that you have to be granted access to the restroom facilities. But I think Berklee is going to take a lot of heat. Although I don't even know if they care. I mean, they certainly don't seem to care about having all their professors, 11, 12 of them, terminated for sexually harassing the students. What do they care about bathroom harassing the Boston Police Department? Anyway, 844-500-4242. In Pennsylvania, owners of round-the-clock diners fined for defying the state's shutdown orders. The owners of the 2 round-the-clock diners in York County have been fined for operating in defiance of Governor Tom Wolf's shutdown orders. So this is going on all over the place. And yeah, as you know, we talked about it late yesterday. The governor quietly moved bars into Group 4 for reopening. Now, most bars now have some kind of food. It's not like the old days when you had these tap rooms on every corner in certain neighborhoods in the big cities in Massachusetts. A lot of places now have some kind of food service. And so, but there's still a lot of places that don't, like, VFW posts, for instance, American Legion halls, places like that. And what are they going to do? They have to phase 4 is when a vaccine is available. Now, do we even know if there's ever going to be a vaccine for the virus? No, we don't. So what the Mass Restaurant Association, their spokesman, is saying, just put in a few hot dogs and sell a few hot dogs, and that way you can claim you're a restaurant. I mean, why do they have to do that? Why do they have to pretend something? Why do they have to dance for a bunch of unelected bureaucrats and pretend that they're a restaurant? Do you think that sort of shall we say decreases the respect that people have for serious health rules when they have to put a hot dog grill or a hot dog kettle at the back of the restaurant, at the back of the bar, to pretend that they're a restaurant. It's just so ridiculous. 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us here this afternoon, every weekday afternoon. Let's do the poll question now. Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Should the Christopher Columbus statue in Boston's North End be repaired and put back on its pedestal?
Yes, it should.
97% say yes.
And there should be another one put down at the corner of Mass Ave and Boylston Street, where the Berklee Performance Center is, just to irritate them. Mike, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Howie, thanks for taking my call. By the way, I didn't get a chance to thank you and your crew for helping Viscount Maine. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your service, Mike, and everybody else in the group.
No problem. You guys never let us down when it comes to vets issues. Thank you. Hey, listen, we got another rally up in Augusta Saturday from 12 to 2 to try to open up Maine again. You know, we were up there 2 weeks ago with Governor LePage and Rick Savage and a lot of the business owners in Maine that have been, really affected by this. Howie, I've never seen anything like this. I've been up here over 30 years. I mean, this is crazy.
I know it is. It is, Mike. And I was looking in the Maine papers today, and the death toll finally passed 100. And you'd have thought that a nuclear bomb had landed on Congress Street in Portland.
Exactly. And everybody's tried to work with her. This is the hard part, Howie. There's a guy up here that's worked for the tourism industry for 30 years. He put a plan together to work with her. She wouldn't look at it. She wouldn't meet with them, and it's just absolutely incredible. I mean, I owned a couple joints up here, and they were bar restaurants. I can't imagine what these people are going through right now,
Yeah, I know.
So sad.
I agree. And like I said, down here, they're saying, you just put in some kind of crappy food, and people, wouldn't it be less dangerous to just let them serve alcohol and be bars rather than pretend to have some food? Somebody's loaded and tries to buy this dirty, crappy food you got in the back just to get around the stupid restrictions that are totally unnecessary to begin with.
And Howie, she gave them the okay to open on June 1st. Now, I don't think she's got a clue what it is to run a restaurant. But when you got to order a lot of stuff ahead of time, okay?
I know.
So while we were at the last rally, Rick Savage walked over to me and he said, "Mike, take a look at this text." He said it was her announcing that any food, because we were up there screaming, she had her spies there.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden she came out and said, "Listen, any of the restaurant owners that have reordered stock can sell it to the Maine State prison system." Now, does that go for the booze too? Can we send that up there too, Janet?
Yeah, I'm sure they got I'm sure there's a lot of food they can't sell, right? I mean, they're going to sell the guacamole to the prison. I mean, come on. What? Yeah, she knows nothing, Mike. Thanks for the call. 844-500-4242. Stephen, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Stephen. You there, Stephen? Nope. No, Stephen. Russ, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Russ.
Howie, I feel like I'm living again behind the Iron Curtain, and I believe that we should be putting signs up on the New Hampshire border that say this: "Checkpoint Charlie, you are now leaving the American sector." Just like in Berlin.
Yeah, I've mentioned Checkpoint Charlie in one of my columns. You're right, Russ. It's just crazy what's going on, and he's just determined to keep it shut down. There's, the most of the people, the vast majority of people who even test positive, they're not sick, and if they're sick, they still don't die. Most of the people who are dying are in the nursing homes that he runs. So to change, again, I've said this a million times now, but he wants to change the subject from the nursing homes that he regulated and didn't do anything about. And now 60+% of the people that are dead are in those nursing homes that he regulated and whose operators gave him and the rest of the hacks on Beacon Hill hundreds of thousands of dollars, not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now all these people are dead. And so his solution is, I'm going to shut down the restaurants. I'm going to shut down the gyms. I'm not going to let you have any funerals. I'm not going to let you have church except for a handful of people. You can't have a graduation. That's because I did something wrong, you're going to have to pay. Checkpoint Charlie, indeed. Thanks for the call, Russ. If you're thinking about replacing your carpets due to pet stains and odors, you must try Genesis 950 first. It breaks down the bonds of stains and odors so they're gone from carpets and padding for good. You can use it in a carpet cleaning machine, and it's green, so it's safe for family and pets. It's the go-to cleaner for when Mr. Gooner has an accident, as older dogs so often do. Before you purchase new carpeting, you must try Genesis 950. 1 gallon of industrial strength Genesis 950 makes up to 7 gallons of cleaner, and it's not just for pet stains. It's also a disinfectant that kills viruses. My assistant down here in Florida, McKay, he has 2 dogs, a Sheltie and a Collie, and he's been using a Genesis 950. How's it working out for you, McKay?
It's working really well, and especially with all the rain down here, it's really helped get out of that, wet dog odor. And the Collie, the puppy I just got, Scout, he had a couple accidents, and it just gets the smell out, and then he doesn't go back to remark his territory.
Yeah, and it costs a lot of money to replace carpeting, and it's a pain. You got to go to the carpeting store. You got to measure the carpets. Padding costs more money. It's just really a pain, and it's expensive, and it's not necessary with Genesis 950. Genesis 950 will clean up your carpets and your padding, and it's also great for kitchens, garages, grease stains, wheels, tires, and more. So save yourself the trouble of going to the store and seeing your favorite cleaner sold out again like paper towels. Genesis 950 is made in America, and as we like to say, buy American, support America. Order a gallon direct at genesis950.com. Enter code Howie to get more than a $10 value in savings, including a spray bottle and free shipping. That's genesis950.com. Enter code Howie.
He didn't come here to be made sport of. Howie Carr.
This half hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Roman. Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping.
The word that's helping Elizabeth Warren get through her so-so campaign? So.
Will you raise taxes on the middle class to pay for it? Yes or no?
So the way I see this, so understand, taxing income is not going to get you where you need to be the way taxing wealth does. So no, and I'm not here to criticize other Democrats. So my proposal is that student loan debt would be canceled up to $50,000.
So, Elizabeth, can you put this issue to bed and tell us whether or not you are, in fact, a member of a minority group?
So, middle-class families.
Why did you list yourself as an American Indian on this Texas bar application?
So, I grew up out in Oklahoma. So look.
Why did you check those boxes?
So
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
I've seen a lot of Anchor cupcakes in my day. Here are some of the latest network nitwits.
And he says, if I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Correct me, there already are term limits, so what does he mean?
And what are we hearing in the background? Is that shelling?
No, Katie, you're actually hearing that from here in Jerusalem, and it's actually fireworks going off right behind me.
We're in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? So that's not gunshots? Okay.
Ivanka is not the second lady. She is actually, I don't think she deserves this position. She's actually a senior advisor to the president. So the idea that he would demean her specifically in that way, he shouldn't talk about the first lady that way. We aren't all here to make salads for men. It's disgusting.
I mean, I'm presuming he was talking about Karen Pence when he said second lady.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Not Montana. I'm talking about no, never mind.
Yeah, no, Chester, I mean, that's
I
I
was getting Montana and North Dakota confused because, I don't know, I just was.
This is Jay in Hingham, Massachusetts.
This is Gloria from Haverhill, Mass.
Hi, this is Joe from Howie in the Hills, Florida, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
75-year-old texter says he's a vet. He says you want to make a tap room or a post into a restaurant? Pickled eggs. Yeah, down south, pig's knuckles. How about Slim Jims? Those disgusting sausages. Yikes. Yeah, there's like that. How can they stop you if you sell pickled eggs, Slim Jims, and pig's knuckles? Man, what a gourmet treat for anybody who staggers in. 844-500-4242. Taylor, do you think we should tweet out the story about another story about Berklee College, the one about sexual harassment allegations against professors? Just to remind
I don't see how it could hurt.
Yeah, I mean, some people aren't that familiar with the Berklee College of Music. It's well known in musical circles, but other than that, it's not that. It doesn't have a football team. Let's put it that way. Let me just read you the first two paragraphs. We'll tweet this whole story out. One Berklee College of Music professor was put on leave after a student reported that he bought her alcohol at a bar and asked her to join him in a public restroom to shake his. Well, you can guess what he asked her to shake. Another professor has been under investigation for allegedly putting a clarinet between his legs in front of a class and instructing a female student to blow into the mouthpiece. She felt her professor was, well, you know what she felt her professor was emulating. So we'll send out this story so you can read up a little bit more on the Berklee College of Music, which is now going to deny the Boston police access to the restrooms. But again, we don't know if they will be denied if they claim that they're transgender. Mike, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi. I just wanted to say I'm up here in Bangor, Maine, and I just sent an email to our brilliant governor, Janet Mills.
Yes.
Because we just had our 100th COVID-19 death.
Yes, I saw that.
And she extended the state of emergency another 30 days to July 10th. And I also noticed that in the past 3 years, the 2017, we had 173 motor vehicle deaths. In 2018, we had 140 motor vehicle deaths. 2019, we had 155. So I just wanted her to tell me when she plans on banning motor vehicles so I can get my horse and buggy before there's a shortage like there was with toilet paper.
These are all very good points, Mike. But she's immune to logic, especially since President Trump called her a dictator last week. That made her day. It made her year. Actually, maybe it made her whole life. And this is what's emboldened her now. She thinks that she thinks that everybody's on her side. Ugh. Freeport restaurant owner claims state is trying to remove licenses after serving in diners indoors. This is at Petrillo's in Freeport, which is Cumberland County. And he's going, like Mike was saying, he's going crazy because he laid in all this food, and then she extended the ban on Cumberland, York, and Androscoggin counties on the 27th. They were going to open in 4 days, and she didn't care. And so now he's been ratted out. He's trying to keep his restaurant open, apparently, and he's serving people in the dining room. And so some of his neighbors have called the state 4 times in 5 days. And there's now a state investigation, and the state is in the process of trying to remove all of his licenses to operate. Yes, I am violating what I believe to be an unjust executive order, he writes on Facebook. I'm doing what I must for my family and my business, including those who work here. Indeed, our livelihoods and survival depend upon this. If I remain closed, we will no doubt lose the business, our home, and perhaps file bankruptcy. Does she care about this? No. Hell no. No. She's very brave, and there've been 100 people die. How many people die on the main turnpike every year? How many people die of opioid overdoses, fentanyl and heroin, that comes up through New York, Connecticut, and Lawrence, Massachusetts? I dare say it's a lot more than 100. Rocky, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Rocky.
Hey, Howie, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I had a couple of quick things I wanted to ask you. Hey, was that something for a Mad Magazine prop with Pelosi and that penguin, that moron Nadler? They're all standing there and kneeling down. What is that? Howie, that's one thing I wanted to ask you. And the other thing is, you got away with segueing somebody selling hot dogs right into like erectile dysfunction.
Now, stop it. Get your mind out of the gutter, Rocky. I'm Howie Carr.
It's nearly summer, and we here at Matthews Brothers are wondering where the heck spring went. We're as happy as clams to see things getting back to normal, but the past couple months haven't exactly been unproductive. For example, we got back in touch with a good buddy, the Nigerian prince, called on Ralph in Bangalore a few times to check the status of our car's warranty, and started following the fascinating sport of professional dirt track marble racing. When we weren't doing that, we watched with pride as the rest of America responded to this once-in-a-generation crisis. Of course, there were the amazing first responders, but behind them were the combined forces of everyday Americans, the Paul Harfords and all the other truck drivers who kept things rolling, the Farmer Johns and all the Shadow Valley farms across the nation, and the grocery stores, even those with their one-way aisles. But mostly, we're proud of all our Matthews brothers and sisters who continue to stay focused on our role in supporting the construction industry by doing what we do best, making wicked awesome windows and doors. You can see those products, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
Biden might be the front runner for the Democrats, but that isn't stopping him from serving up a whole lot of gaff.
Hey, Howie?
Yes.
This guy continues to be a no-show.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
To our...
I'll play those bar cuts coming out.
Cool.
And we can go back to Berklee. Berklee's a pretty good topic anyway.
You got it.
Slow Joe Biden. Thanks for the Mary, and I'm gonna be here a lot. I want the press to know she pulled me close. I just want you to know, okay? President Trump inherited an economy from Obama Biden. By the way, he gave me permission to touch it. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the West.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
You know, people are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
Bernie Sanders is officially in the race for 2020. Let's look back at some of the septuagenarian's greatest hits.
Should we give tax breaks to billionaires, which is what Trump wants, or demand that wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes?
Blah, 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 blah. It's funny. Sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death.
We understand your wife has hired a lawyer to represent her in a possible probe into a land deal that fell apart. This was back when she was president of Burlington College.
No, it was not when she was. Oh, let me say a word on that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to ask you, do you know she's under FBI investigation?
Excuse me. My wife is about the most honest person I know.
At the end of the day, you don't necessarily need a choice of 23 underarm spray deodorants or 18 different pairs of sneakers.
People should not be dying in the United States of America when they are sick.
We will raise taxes.
We all love President Trump's off-the-cuff comments, but he's never in rarer form than when he's speaking at a rally. Take a listen.
I hit Pocahontas way too early. I thought she was gone. She's emerged from the ashes, and now it looks like she could beat Sleepy Joe. He's fallen asleep. He has no idea what the hell he's doing or saying.
I don't know. I'm not a vain person. But I look better under an incandescent light than these crazy lights that are beaming down on.
That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising. Got a bigger problem than I do. Now he goes home and his mom says, "What the hell have you just done?" How do you top that? I'm just ready, the big, beautiful crescendo, and this character's going back home. One person just going home to mommy a little bit sooner. These are phony people, but that's okay. When you think of it, I'm president, and they're not.
You really have to elect me. Whether you like me or not, it makes no difference, because our country will go to hell if any of these people get in.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. Don't you have to get a license too if you want to become a restaurant, a licensed victualler, I think they call it? So that's another opportunity for some hack, some unelected bureaucrat to shake you down if you own a tap room or a gin mill and you want to open before they get a vaccine, which they may never get a vaccine. So that's another thing. And then, someone else says add beer nuts to your gourmet menu, Howie. That's true. That's good too. I want to know how many people have gotten sick and died from eating pickled eggs or Slim Jims or pig's knuckles. Ugh, I used to sit at the bar and you'd look at these big jars of pig's knuckles. And you just want to move down the bar to see something else other than the jar of pig's knuckles. 844-500-4242. Police in the news. This one can't wait for Police Blotter Facts Friday. Alleged thief nabbed car with pooch inside, spit at cops. That's only a part of the story.
They're just a human being.
A Boston man suspected of stealing a car with a dog inside, spitting on a trooper after claiming he had COVID-19 and defecating in the booking barracks is facing a litany of charges, Massachusetts State Police said Wednesday. Really? On Tuesday, Braintree police started looking for a Ford Explorer that had been stolen from a pet supply store parking lot with a dog inside, according to the state police. The following day, a trooper was almost hit by the suspected stolen vehicle in Kingston. Another trooper deployed a tire deflation device to disable the car, but the suspect kept driving before. It's funny how that works. They just keep driving because somehow think they're going to get away on 4 flat tires. Before he crashed on the ramp from Route 3 southbound to Route 44 westbound. Police say the suspect Hamza, Hamza Connor. Hamza Connor, 29 of Boston, ran away from the scene before he was found on Industrial Parkway in Plymouth. He was unruly and resistant and refused to identify himself. He also claimed he had coronavirus and spit at a trooper as he was taken into custody. Connor continued to spit inside the cruiser, did something bad inside and in the booking barracks as well. I wonder if they would have let him use the bathroom at Berklee College of Music. He had never been tested for COVID-19. He didn't show any symptoms. Here's the good news. The dog that was inside the car when it was allegedly...
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
It was found in Somerville on Wednesday and has been returned to its family. Police said they believe Connor drove to the Boston area after stealing the car and left the dog there. Did he leave the dog in Boston and it got back to Somerville, or they're referring to Somerville as the Boston area? That's probably what they're doing. 844-500-4242. What was the dog's name? His name was Lance. Lance. He was a Labrador. Lance the Labrador. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Hi, this is John. Yep, I just was listening the last couple of days with, the restaurant owner Frank Mendoza in the North End, and I was listening to Charlie Baker's speech yesterday. And I'm from Needham, and I graduated Needham High, and I knew Charlie Baker at Needham High. I knew his brother at Needham High. I knew his father, actually, as well, who worked for the Reagan administration. And I'm kind of ashamed now to admit that I went to Needham High after the way he's been treating the restaurant owners and the whole shutdown process. I listened yesterday where they talked about the WHO came out yesterday and said that the studies show that anyone that's asymptomatic is not passing the virus. So it was concluded that masks probably aren't even required. And I think we mentioned that yesterday, Howie, as well.
And then they changed it again. So masks were required on Monday. They weren't required on Tuesday, and then they were required again on Wednesday. Right? But you're right, though. I mean, he was stumbling and mumbling, and when he was confronted with the fact that you didn't need masks. But John, let me ask you something else. Did you go to school with Phil Murphy too? Because I didn't know that until recently that the governor of New Jersey, who's almost as bad as Charlie Baker, he went to Needham High as well.
No, I don't recall him. I was younger than Charlie Baker, but I knew him from high school. I was his paper boy for his father. I had to deliver the Boston Globe to his house. And Charlie would be sitting on the lawn enjoying himself. I don't think he ever worked a blue-collar job in his life until he went to Harvard. So I'm not aware of what his background beyond that is. But I will say that the other point I wanted to mention was that I had the virus back in February. I was tested, and I tested positive for having the antibodies. And I've been tested twice. The state required me to be tested again, and I tested negative for being asymptomatic. So I'm not passing the virus to anybody. So I'm wondering, there's thousands more people like me. Why don't the restaurants have an antibody night where all the people with antibodies can come sit next to each other?
You mean like happy hour, only to be antibody hour?
Yeah, antibody hour, where we can eat and drink and sit and talk with each other next to each other, not 6 feet from one another. And then the restaurants can advertise antibody night, and we all show up with our antibody. I have a form from the testing that says I have.
And then that would, John, that would also encourage people to get the test, right? People aren't getting the test. They're setting up all these centers where nobody goes.
Right. And the center I got tested at, I probably was more likely to get the virus there. They dropped the needles on the floor. There was an unsterile environment. So I was concerned leaving there. I said, maybe I got the virus there now, what I didn't have before. So the whole thing is bizarre to me. And then I'm tired of these commercials on TV every night with Dr. Archie, or whatever his name is, every night telling me what to do. I mean, when are we going to stop these commercials? How many do we have to watch a night?
I know. I hear him. I'm listening to Mark Levin going home every night, and it's the same thing. That apparently the radio stations, the apps, the big companies that I listen to Mark Levin on, they can't sell any ads, so they just keep running these things. Wash your hands. If I want to hear someone telling me to wash my hands, I'll go to your friend from Needham High, Charlie Parker. Thanks for the call, John. That's a good suggestion. Antibody hour. Suzanne, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Oh, hi, Howie. Thank you for taking my call. I just had like a very weird experience. Was trying to avoid. They said today on the news at noon that there was going to be, and I thought they meant a march from Salem, whatever court is over there, to the Lynn Commons. And I thought to myself, hell, that's an awful long walk,
Right.
But when I was coming home from Andover, I came down Linfield Street, which is, it's like 129, I think. And when you get to a certain point, I cross over 107. Well, at that point, all these cars were coming down 107 with the Black Lives Matter. So then I realized that this was a drive protest.
Right, like the one on the Cape yesterday, the Mid-Cape Highway.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So anyways, but I ended up taking a right on 107, so I didn't have to follow them all. And so then my route then took, because I live on the ocean, so my route then took me down past the I didn't want to go near, the Commons, but it took me past the police station, and lo and behold, when I got there were policemen on all the corners. And then when I took my left to go in front of the police station, I was kind of shocked because there was a guy there with a camera on a stand, and I looked, and up on the stairs of the police station was the mayor. I didn't see Charlie Parker up there, and he is a pretty big man, so I don't think he was there, but I could be wrong, because it was kind of hard to drive and watch.
I was just thinking, what would happen if Charlie Parker was trying to get home to Swampscott and he got caught in that jam up? Do you think that'd stop the traffic for him? Because he is a very important person,
I know that, but I think that they probably did come down, because when I went past the police station and I got nearer to the ocean, I took a left, and cars were coming down there with all the signs, and they were like four kids in a car. It was 3 or 4. All the cars had more than one person in them, and they were all hanging out the windows, and they had their things plastered on their cars and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I know. And this
girl was looking at me and kind of like laughed at me, because I probably looked bewildered, because I'm like, geez, now how did they get here? But what I was saying to, was it Jared?
Yeah.
Who did I talk to earlier? Yeah. I said, all I could think of was if these kids, because they weren't black kids, these were not black people. I thought to myself, if they had somewhere to go at night, like where they usually go, because if everything wasn't all shut down, they wouldn't be doing this. They just have nothing else to do.
Right.
And I think it's
I know, and they can't get jobs either. That's the other thing. There are no places to get jobs in the summer. It's just it's crazy. I think you're right, Suzanne. This is a large part of it. The fact that the state is shut down for no good reason, because Charlie Parker won't admit that he made a mistake, that he screwed up, that he panicked and tried to change the subject from the nursing homes, as I keep saying. Thanks for the call, Suzanne. If you haven't tried Super Beats soft chews yet, you're missing out. I'm opening the bag right now and taking them out to show you on the social media cameras. They're great. I prefer them over the powder. The powder is good, but it takes a little more work. You got to take a spoon, put the powder into a cup, pour some water into it. Then you got to clean the glass and the spoon after you use it. It's so much more convenient to use the Super Beats soft chews. That's
Howie, the Super Beats soft chews are like candy. If you thought the powder was like candy, these, if you gave me these and told me that they were just a Starburst sister or cousin, I would believe you. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
They are delicious. And so the powder is like Kool-Aid. This is like Starburst. These Super Beets soft chews. They combine non-GMO beets with a powerful new ingredient, grapeseed extract. The grapeseed extract used in Super Beets chews has been clinically shown to be 2 times as effective at supporting normal blood pressure as a healthy lifestyle alone. Better blood pressure means more energy the way nature intended, without the jittery caffeine or stimulants. Now you can take just 2 delicious chews a day, anytime, anywhere, to get the blood pressure support you need and the energy you want. I take it before my daily bike ride right at the dawn when I wake up, and then I have another one right before the show starts to give me a burst of energy. Just 2 a day, and it'll get to be a habit, and you'll really enjoy it. It's a good part of a healthy routine. Do what I did and support your heart health with delicious Super Beets chews. Get your Super Beets chews today at superbeetsradio.com/Howie. And when you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in the 3rd one for free. That's superbeetsradio.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
The Howie Carr Show.
Hey, Howie.
Yes.
Billy Bulger's wife has passed away.
Mary? Wow. Okay.
Yep. "84 years old.
Same age as him, I think. Mary Foley.
Main one is Trump's pretty funny. Take a listen.
What advice would you give to the 25-year-old Donald Trump, knowing what you know today?
Don't run for president. I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life, okay? It's one of my only good traits. I don't drink. Whenever they're looking for something good, I say, never had a glass of alcohol. I've never had alcohol. Can you imagine if I had? What a mess I'd be. I'd be the world's worst. Other countries, big countries, India and others, we had to pay because they considered them a growing country. They were a growing country. So what are we? Are we allowed to grow too? Okay. No, are we allowed to grow?
I try like hell to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in. I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year, because I've destroyed her political career, and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it. I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be terrible.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair, so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number 1. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Jim Acosta, without a doubt, wins the competition for Trump's least favorite journalist of all time. Let's listen to some of their feistier moments.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Should I let him have a little bit more? What do you think, Peter? Peter, should I let him have a little bit more? Sit down. I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you?
When I raise money, excuse me, I've watched you on television. You're a real beauty. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, what do you say to your critics who say that you're concocting a national emergency here in order to get your wall because you couldn't get it through other ways?
What do you think? You think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons, because your question is a very political question, because you have an agenda. You're CNN. You're fake news.
Hi, my name's Jane Lucas.
Black Lives Matter now at Boston City Hall calling for defunding the police department.
Is the one and the only Howie Carr Show.
Black Lives Matter is now demonstrating on City Hall Plaza outside City Hall, demanding defunding of the Boston Police Department. 844-500-4242. We still have a few gift certificates to the Barley House in Northampton and Concord, New Hampshire. It's $50 gift certificates for $25. This is our cheap bastard deal from yesterday. We only got a handful left, but you can still get a few at HowieCarrShow.com. Click on store, HowieCarrShow.com. Click on store. We're going to have a good special for you tomorrow. We'll tell you about it in the morning, but right now, go to HowieCarrShow.com. We got all kinds of good stuff up there now. Click on store. Let's play a couple of the Bill Barr, the Attorney General, cuts from last night with Bret Baier on Fox. And he does some really good interviews. He did a good interview with Margaret Brennan, Face the Nation, but they cut a lot of it out for obvious reasons. But when he talked with Bret Baier last night, he was talking about the Russian hoax and talking about, I like the fact that he said, about John Durham, the U.S. attorney in Connecticut, who's handling the investigation of Obamagate. He said, we're not working on a report. We want to charge some people. And he said there's some famous people or people whose names you're going to recognize. And I think we all know who he means. I don't think he meant Biden and Obama because Bret Baier asked him specifically. But let's play a couple of these cuts before we go back to the phone lines. Cut one, Bill Barr.
For the election, I think we're concerned about the motive force behind the very aggressive investigation that was launched into the Trump campaign with a very thin, slender read as a basis for it. It seemed that the Bureau was sort of spring-loaded at the end of July to drive in there and investigate a campaign. And there really wasn't much there to do that on, and that became more and more evident as they went by, but they seem to have ignored all the exculpatory evidence that was building up and continued pell-mell to push it forward.
A slender read. How about an invisible read? How about no evidence whatsoever? Cut two.
After the election, even though they were closing down some of it, as we've seen in the Flynn case, and say there's nothing here, for some reason they went right back at it, even at a time where the evidentiary support or claim support, like the dossier, was falling apart. And it's very hard to understand why they continued to push and even make public in testimony that they had an investigation going when it was becoming painfully obvious, or should have been obvious to anyone, that there was nothing there.
When you're the Attorney General, you have to say things like it's very hard to understand, when in reality, it's even easier for him to understand than it is for you and me. One final cut here, cut three.
Here's the thing. For the first time in American history, police organizations and the national security organizations were used to spy on a campaign. And there was no basis for it. And the media largely drove that, and all kinds of sensational claims were being made about the president that could have affected the election. And then later on in his administration, there were actions taken that really appear to be efforts to sabotage his campaign. And that has to be looked at. And if people want to say that I'm political because I am looking at those potential abuses of power, so be it. But that's the job of the Attorney General.
The FBI is the ones who made it political. He's investigating. Who will guard the guards themselves? Juvenal, more than 2 millennia ago, he wrote that. Who will guard the guards themselves? In this case, it's going to have to be John Durham and William Barr. Bob, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, hello. I just want to mention, I live in Herman, Maine, and I feel that Governor Mills just has such contempt for us here in Maine that it really doesn't matter how many of these protests we go to in Augusta. I've been to a few myself, and I just feel like it's probably time for a lot more civil disobedience.
But I mean, here's the problem, Bob. The problem is you have this guy in Freeport who opened up his restaurant, and that's civil disobedience. He admits it. But they're trying to strip him of all of his licenses to operate. That's kind of tough, isn't it?
I absolutely understand that. I was just going to say my daughter opened up a salon here in Herman the day before the shutdown happened. And I encouraged her to just
Aren't laws, these law, what she's operating under, these regulations, they weren't passed by the legislature. She just issued these orders. Where is the legislature? All of these legislatures have disappeared. They're happy to let these tin-pot dictator governors just operate with immunity, and then they just stand back and continue to collect their paychecks, unlike the affected people. I'm Howie Carr.